Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris has said he will call a pre-Christmas election tomorrow, December 15th, believed to be the likely date. Meanwhile, Senator George Mitchell will virtually address the Oireachtas Committee on the implementation of the Good Friday Agreement today. The special envoy, who was appointed by the former US President Bill Clinton, is expected to comment on the current political impasse at Stormont. John Tong is Professor of Politics at University of Liverpool.
You've had chronic political instability, devolved power sharing keeps collapsing, and there's question marks over the future of the political institutions in Northern Ireland. They need addressing, so the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement shouldn't simply be a cause for celebration. It should also be a cause for reflection and a look at how the institutions that were set up 25 years ago might usefully be reformed.
Around 400,000 homeowners are poised to face higher monthly repayments. Another interest rate hike is expected when the governing body of the European Central Bank meets today. An increase of 0.75 of 1% is on the cards as the bank tries to control inflation across the Eurozone. It'll be the third interest rate hike this year. Between them, it amounts to a 2% rise. Economist and Financial Services Director at Sherry Fitzgerald, Shane Quinlan, says this one will hit homeowners in the pocket.
If you look at a typical tracker, maybe with about 200,000 remaining over a 15-year term, that means an extra €180 per month, which I suppose equates to about $2,000 per year. There is speculation we'll see another increase for the end of the year, and we could be possibly at 3% around the middle of next year. That would mean an extra €300 per month for a typical tracker customer, and $3,500 per year. So the change is significant.
The number of students seeking exemptions from learning Irish is worrying, according to Conor Naguelga. The Oireachtas Committee on the Irish Language has heard the number of students exempt from the subject in schools has risen from 2% in 1999 to nearly 11% last year. Education Minister Norma Foley has defended a revised process under which students can seek exemptions. And the Mayor of Letterkenny Milford Municipal District says the process of reinvigorating the Market Square could have been delayed if agreement hadn't been reached this week on taxi spaces. The draft proposal saw all taxi spaces taken away from Market Square and Market Centre and moved further down Main Street. However, following a public consultation and discussions with councillors, that was amended to retain the taxi rank outside the Market Centre. The revised proposal was then accepted at a special meeting this week. Work is set to start next year. Councillor Kelly says it was the right decision.
What's been proposed here to leave the three taxi ranks where they always have been outside the Market Square and move the two disabled parking bays on the right down in front of the Ulster Bank. I think that's the right decision. Listen, I think if we didn't propose this, it was going to set this whole project back of the revamping of the Market Square, and that's something I was eager not to see, because I think going forward with this is the right way to go. It's a game changer for Letterkenny.
Outbreaks of rain this morning will break up this afternoon, leaving some dry weather with some sunshine. Heavy rain hitting the west coast again by evening, though. Mild for this time of year. Temperatures hitting 15 to 17 degrees Celsius in moderate southerly winds. They'll increase, though, as the day goes on. And we're back with news again at 10 o'clock.
Are your Christmas orders already flying in? On Post Commerce has some seasonal supports to help your business scale up with smart savings on Advantage Card. Get €4 off every express parcel that you send and save on stamps to send greetings to your customers. It's one card you'll really need this Christmas. So register free today at your post office or on post.com/AdvantageCard. On Post Commerce, a world closer. T's and C's apply. Offer ends December 31st.
Live free in 2023 with Dunloe GAA Club. Winner takes all. Prize includes €500 cash paid every week next year. Live free in 23.ie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
Cutting through the spin. The 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now, it's time for the talk of the Northwest. The 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
A very good morning and a happy Thursday to you. 4 minutes past 9, Thursday, 27th of October 2022. Don't forget, by the way, your clocks go back on Sunday. You'll start seeing the turn back time memes from Cher, I'm sure, very, very shortly, if you haven't already. It's always good to remember, isn't it? Although most of our stuff now almost goes back automatically. Half of you out there, for finally, on Monday, you'll wake up and your car clock will be at the right time. Isn't that great news? But anyway, we've today to worry about for the next 3 hours, so we're going to keep you informed, hopefully entertained. 086 60 25,000, WhatsApps and texts to that number. Give us a call to 07491 25,000. Anything you want to raise. And by the way, all your contacts with us are in strict confidence. Don't forget that. You can watch the programme as more and more of you do. We had 1 million live minutes viewed over the last 4 weeks here at Highland Radio, which is a huge milestone to reach. That doesn't take into consideration, of course, those that you watch at your leisure. But anyway, if you want to join that group of people, you can go onto our website, click Watch Live, or straight over to YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland. You can watch on your big screen too, your tablet, wherever you want to watch it. Or Facebook. All of our Facebook pages, we're carrying the show, so you can't miss it, unless you wish to avoid it. Right, let's look what's happening in the... Oh, by the way, I want to mention to you, we've our friends at Dunloe GEA. They have a fantastic competition running at the moment, and it's to invest money into the community to build a new pitch, floodlights, and all that stuff to cater for all the teams and all the different variations of the sport that are played there. And they're effectively... it's 5 fantastic prizes you can win. €500 into your bank account every week. Wouldn't that be nice on top of your wages for a full year? 5 nights in 5-night holiday in Dubai, tickets to the All Ireland hurling and football finals, and more. And we're going to give you the chance to win 3 tickets for that draw a little later on in the programme. So it's a great prize for a great prize. So stay tuned for that as well. Now, the Donegal Democrat this morning. A horrendous story of a man who engaged in lewd acts in Letterkenny Leisure Centre using mirrors to help spy on young girls. Louis Nugent, a 67-year-old man from Killyclug in Letterkenny, was apprehended by a man whose daughters were filmed by Nugent while they changed in a cubicle after a swimming lesson at the Aura Leisure Centre. Nugent also used a mobile phone to film or record another young girl while she showered. And the more you read into that story, the more horrific the details become. On to the Kirkconnell Tribune now, and with an estimated figure of around 71,000 people believed to be seeking sanctuary in Ireland under the Temporary Protection Directive, the country is now buckling under the strain of providing accommodation. Declan Meehan of the MDRC office in Milford has put on record the widely held view that money is being poured into the pockets of landlords and developers. This is the stark message emerging as Ukrainians are forced to sleep rough or to seek a roof over their heads in Dublin's Cabogen Day Centre. Declan Meehan, who's been engaged in looking after refugees since March, said it's clear from how squeezed schools and GP surgeries are in the local locality that we simply don't have the capacity for any further arrivals. Now, if you were in any doubt of Declan Meehan's position on this, and I'm not saying this is his view, but it certainly speaks to his point. We've learned and been covering over the course of the last while on this programme that hundreds of you out there offered accommodation through rooms or houses or whatever it might be, your own private property, short-term, long-term, I don't know. It was up to you however you decided to offer it. None of that was taken up, we've been told, and haven't heard anything to the contrary yet. None of it. So a great outpouring of... outpouring of generosity, and all that generosity was seemingly chucked back in people's faces because they were chasing up the Red Cross and other organisations back and forward, yes thanks, and then eventually a no thanks. Now they're effectively telling people that they're not looking for accommodation at this time. Yet, all the while, almost 5,000 people are now living in Donegal from Ukraine and elsewhere. And where are they staying? They're staying in hotels, they're staying in grouped accommodation, which is far more costly than it would be if the offers of the sort of community offered accommodation was taken up. Well, anyway, there are currently, I'm reading on here now, there are currently 600 Ukrainian refugees in the Milford electoral area, and while the local community has been made them very welcome, Declan Meehan said, I think we need to send a message to the department that we cannot accommodate any further people on this basis. It's a constant challenge for community organisations to meet the increased need locally, and to date we've not received 1 penny in additional funding to do this, nor have we received any additional staff or resources. When the dust settles, the amount of money that has been poured into this, especially when there were much cheaper alternatives, it's going to be a shocker. And don't forget, €2.8 billion, 2.8 billion with a B, not million, billion, has been set aside in next year's budget to service the costs associated with housing people and fulfilling our obligation, which it is our obligation to help people fleeing situations such as the war in Ukraine. 2.8 billion. Now, where is the majority of that going? The Donegal News this morning, and this is good news. A meeting will take place in Creasla this evening to update the community on the ongoing efforts by the Irish Red Cross to assist those impacted by the tragedy and to finalise a plan to decide how to distribute the funding. And it's not for me, again, to get involved. If it were I would try and make that meeting available for live streaming for those people who need to hear that information but perhaps aren't ready to return to Creasla if they're affected by it and live outside Creasla. But as I say, it's not up for me to make those decisions or suggestions, but if it were I certainly, and it's not hard to do, I would try to make that available for people to listen to remotely. But that meeting comes after members of the public reported difficulties getting through to the Irish Red Cross phone number that was circulated locally for those in need of support. A spokesperson for the organisation told the Donegal News yesterday they are working on providing additional contact information with a new email and phone number. And since we were chatting about this yesterday, I'm not saying it's because of it, but since there has been quite a considerable amount of progress as to where we were at. The Donegal County Council has appointed now a community support officer for Creasla. The person has been appointed to assist in the aftermath of the Creasla tragedy. A community support officer has been put in place in Creasla to assist with any council associated area of help and advice. Her name is Pamela Smullen, and she'll be in attendance at the Wild Atlantic campsite, Unit 12, Creasla, effective from 2 p.m. on Wednesday the 26th of October and from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. daily, Thursday and Friday. And Pamela will act as a link for any council-related queries and follow-ups. Now, given the location of where Pamela is going to be set up, there are going to be some people that might find it difficult to attend there. 087 060 7388 is a telephone number. 087 060 7388. That service will be continued into next week and depending on demand for same. And the council has been advised, as we've just mentioned there, that the Red Cross is now hosting a town hall meeting 7 p.m. tonight in the Creasla Community Centre, Massanas, to consult on their ongoing work and future plans in the area. And the council's also advising that its road service has reviewed and upgraded signage for diversions. They're asking that anyone travelling in that area abide by the signage pending the reopening of the main road in Creasla. Okay, so hopefully that is the type of reach out to the community that we were talking about yesterday that really needs to happen. The Irish Independent, banks will make $1 billion from rate hikes as families suffer. Irish banks are set to make a $1 billion killing as the European Central Bank cranks up interest rate increases for far beyond earlier expectations. ECB President Christine Lagarde is set to put through another 0.75% rate hike today, the third increase since July and the fastest tightening in Eurozone history. This will mean higher prices for thousands of mortgage borrowers once banks pass on the rates rise, adding to the financial pressure of those struggling with the higher cost of living. Well worth, if it suits, I don't give financial advice, but hopping onto your app, if you can manage your mortgage, see what rates are available, even on tracker mortgages maybe. You can get a fixed rate in and around where you're at, so you have some sort of because there's going to be another rate rise after this at least, so the mortgage is going to go up again before the middle of next year. But anyway, rating agencies S&P has warned that people will, with cured mortgages, are at heightened risk of falling back into arrears as the cost of repayments climbs. Higher interest rates mean big money for the banks on deposits too. Yeah, and you just wonder, you know, you talk about inflation, then you factor in your increase in your mortgage, and that inflation rate goes from, 10 or 12% to 20%, depending on your income versus your borrowings. It's really quite worrying. All right, the Irish Times has the latest poll on support for political parties. Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael seem to have got a bit of a bounce post-budget, though they are still far and away behind Sinn Féin. The party support is as follows. Sinn Féin sit at 35%, that's down 1%, well within the margin of error. Fine Gael a plus 4%, so that's a nice Filio Varadkar as he is appointed again as leader of the country as Taoiseach. Fianna Fáil, they've gained as well. They're up to 21% +1. The Green Party gained a percentage point, 25% increase in their popularity. They're now up to a staggering 4%. Labour have slipped 1 to 3%. The three coalition parties have seen a rebound in support since the summer, with voters taking a more positive view of the government and of the country's prospects. Support for all three government parties has risen, with Fine Gael seeing a 4-point increase since the last poll in July, while Fianna Fáil and the Greens see a marginal increase of 1 point. Support for the opposition declines, with Sinn Féin and Labour losing a point each and independent others falling away by 4 points. I think it's interesting the way it's covered. And I say this only as someone who likes as much as impossible and impartial media. Sinn Féin is sitting at 35%, which is a remarkable figure, but no story is ever framed in the context of what that party has achieved. It's always what the main parties, they've been the main parties for 100 years odd, do you know what I mean? How they are operating in and around what Sinn Féin are doing. So it's never like, Sinn Féin top the polls again. It's always, right, they're doing that, but let's focus on what Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael are doing, which I think is quite interesting. The Irish Daily Mail, a mystery letter delivered to Fianna Fáil TDs last night, alleges an inappropriate connection has been made between Mark McSharry's readmittance to the parliamentary party and an uninvestigated allegation of bullying against the Sligo TD. The letter will ratchet up tensions in the party and will be seen as an intensification of a move against the party leader, Micheál Martin. The correspondence alleges that Mr McSharry has been denied due process about the unspecified allegation made against him. The letter was dropped into the cubbyholes of all members of the Fianna Fáil parliamentary party while they were meeting last night. So can you imagine? The Fianna Fáil parliamentary party are meeting, and then there's someone scurrying around the halls of the Dáil, dropping little letters into their cubbyholes. It's, I don't know, email them. Irish Farmers Journal, sprays to manage crops, rushes and clover could face a complete ban in Ireland by 2024 under the new EU Sustainable Pesticides Directive. The Irish Farmers Journal can reveal that the fine print in the revised directive indicates that Ireland would face a 100% reduction in pesticide usage because the country is classed as one nitrates vulnerable zone. All right, we're taking a bit of time here, but it is Thursday, so there's lots of papers, isn't there? The Irish Daily Star, what do you think about the increase in fines for motoring offences? Do you think it's a money-grabbing exercise? Do you think it's our best tool to reduce the carnage on our roads? I mean, let's face it, in Donegal, we have far and away had our fair share of fatalities on our roads, and I'm not attributing any blame in saying that, or saying speeding or seatbelts or anything like that were a factor. But surely the strongest tool to try and encourage us to drive safely is the risk of hitting us in our pockets. But some people think it's really about taking in the cash. But I want to know what you think. Fines for road safety offences are set to double from today, with speeding and holding a mobile phone while driving among those due to increase. Minister of State at the Department of Transport, Hildegard Naughton, confirmed the fines associated with 16 road safety offences will double. The changes mean speeding will incur a €160 fine, and holding a mobile phone while driving will result in a €120 penalty. So that's a doubling. But unless you routinely want to do that, or you routinely do it, why would you be angry at those fines doubling? That's a question, by the way, not a statement. Let me know what you think. A man who stabbed a nighttime intruder to death. Now, this is someone that came into his house. He's been jailed for 3.5 years in the Sun today. Justice Paul McDermott said Dean Kerry was entitled to use force to defend himself, his family and his home. But the judge said that used by the now 21-year-old, there's some words missing here, I don't know which words, but the judge said that the force used by the now 21-year-old was grossly excessive given the victim was unarmed. Kerry was 17 when Jack Power, 25, broke into his home in the early hours of July 26, 2018. Power had been drinking and at about 3 a.m. saw damage to his car, which he believed Kerry caused. The fisherman went to Kerry's home in Waterford, smashed a window and assaulted him in the bedroom before Kerry knifed him in the chest. Power was described by the judge as an exceptionally hard-working young man who loved his work, and that loss was incalculable. What do you think about that? All right, so someone comes into your home. I mean, obviously, the judge feels this person was a very good standing. I've nothing to doubt that. But someone comes into your home and attacks you, and you, in the heat of the moment, or even premeditatedly, I don't know, you defend yourself, and the intruder in that process dies, you could end up in jail for 3.5 years. What do you think about that? Text us 086 60 25,000. Finally, Rishi Sunak called the Taoiseach to say he wants a negotiated outcome on the Northern Ireland Protocol, Downing Street said yesterday. A spokeswoman said Britain's new Prime Minister and Micheál Martin agreed on the vital importance of a strong relationship. She added the Prime Minister welcomed Ireland's ongoing support for Ukraine. Discussing the Northern Ireland Protocol, Mr Sunak set out his preference remained a negotiated outcome and hoped all parties would approach the challenges with pragmatism and goodwill. Both undertook to continue discussions in the coming weeks and months. And if you're listening in Northern Ireland or outside it, you're looking at another election. December 15th, is that the date that's being earmarked? Because a executive can't be formed. The idea of having to deal with an election and all that talk, you know, because everything's going to stay the same, but having to listen to that for the next month and a half doesn't interest me. Right, okay. I want to go to Melanie Sweeney now, who's project coordinator of the Family Resource Centre in Rifo. Thanks for your time, Melanie, this morning. Sorry to be speaking to you under these circumstances.
No, I know it's been disappointing, so it was definitely. We're kind of just getting over kind of the shock and disappointment.
Right, so
really.
This is the Helping Hand shed was broken into. Before we talk about what was taken and how listeners might be able to help in this regard, tell us a little bit about Helping Hands and why the need for the shed and what's in there.
So the Helping Hands project has probably been operating, I think, maybe nearly 10 years, and it's there to support like older people in the community or those who are no longer able like to carry out like maintenance tasks outside the home. So like it's a really, really busy service. It helps, it cuts grass, cuts the hedges, cleans windows. You know, it does so much, and not even the maintenance work, Greg, but you know, checking in with older people and stuff like that.
Yeah, and that I think is a real vital part of it too, that sort of contact. And this is all done by volunteers. So the volunteers use this equipment to go out and, as you've been outlining, look after the homes of and engage with particularly older people in the community. And obviously, been going for 10 years. That's an amazing achievement, I think, Melanie.
Yeah. And Greg, the project is supported by DLDC TUS program, so like there would be 3 staff placed
very
on
good.
it
That's
as well.
Good.
So like it's been really, really busy, and you know, just it's just such a loss this week because obviously nothing's happened this week, and you know, going forward, I don't really know what we're going to do.
Well, we'll see. Maybe there's people out there that might want to help when they hear the fantastic work that Helping Hands does. Where was the shed located, and when was it broken into?
So the Family Resource Centre is based on the Castle Road, just down beside the cathedral there, and then just below at the bottom of the lane, that was at this shed. It's like a like a metal shipping container that you would see on site, but like it's been placed there for about 3.5 years and was really, really secure.
Yeah, so it's like you see them loaded on the back of a lorry. There's double doors at one end of it. It's a long rectangular shape.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So they smashed in the door locks, did they?
No, they didn't touch the lock because you wouldn't have got the lock off. So they cut the rod off it with iron with like a bolt cutter or something like that. That's what the guards think. But also, like, you know, if somebody did see anything, you know, there definitely would have been a van because of what was taken was quite large. Do you know, that kind of way?
Right. So let's run through what was taken then, because this stuff might pop up on websites or what have you. This is equipment that's used in the area, okay, to clean people's houses, mow the lawns, tidy up their properties. 2 lawn mowers, 2 hedge cutters, a power washer, 2 trimmers, and 2 blowers. That's a lot of equipment, $2,500 odds worth, and I think that's kind of a conservative figure, if I'm honest.
That's probably what the value, you know, kind of would be now. But you know, like one of the lawnmowers was like split new, like Greg, like, you know what I mean. And you know, that is all the power tools. Like I think all that was left was like for washing the windows. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, well, no one likes washing the windows, I suppose.
No.
But you did that for people in the community. So as you say, it would have taken a while maybe, and also this, I think they'd had to have checked this place out beforehand as well to have the right
definitely.
tools and the right vehicle with them. There's definitely been a bit of casing on, so people, if you saw anything even in advance of this, but they had to have been there for a little bit of time as well to get the lock off, get the doors open, and get this stuff loaded and taken away. We're looking perhaps at a reasonably sized van or car and trailer or something, I think, Melanie.
Yeah. Definitely. And just I think it's also important to note that these tools would have had markings on them. Refugee and DLDC would have been written in permanent marker, quite large on them, and there would have been stickers as well on them. So if anyone was offered something with stuff scribbled out on the side of it or anything,
or ground off or something. Yeah, keep your eyes peeled for that.
Yeah.
Right. So this is all the gear really to do your work. So nothing's being done this week, despite the willingness of people to do it.
No, nothing's been done this week, and I don't even know what's going to happen next week because going forward the issue will be for us. Our space is quite limited. The Family Resource Centre is extremely busy. I can't keep those work tools in the Family Resource Centre, so the issue kind of is going to be going forward, where does it be secured in the future? Because we can't have anything like that happen again.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So keep your eyes out, people. If you've seen any movement, suspicious movement in this area in advance or on the night, and also to shift 2 lawnmowers, 2 hedge cutters, power washers, 2 trimmers, 2 leaf blowers, that's a lot of gear and requires a decent bit of space. And also, if there's anyone in the area, by the way, it's a safe lockup maybe they'd like to make available, I'm sure, for the future. Melanie, you'd like to hear from them. But anyone with any information, get in contact with the Gardaí.
Definitely. We really, really, really appreciate anybody's support on it if they know anything or seen anything.
It's a real slap in the teeth, isn't it, when you're sort of doing something that goes under the radar. Let's face it, you know what you're doing, and the people that you work with knows what you're doing. But a lot of people don't realise that this is ongoing, and it's been ongoing for 10 years and doing great work. And this, as I say, this is a real personal slap in the teeth, isn't it?
It definitely is, because, the Family Resource Centre, it's there to support the most vulnerable in the community, Greg, that kind of way. And, the older people.
And to keep them connected to the community as well, I think, Melanie, that's an important part of
There's
this.
so much other work that comes from the Helping Hands, that kind of way. It has a ripple effect in the other programmes. And, we process senior alert alarms, and, one of the men might say, could you ring out to them? I think they could do with an alarm because they live on their own and they're getting, it would benefit them. So it was just really, really disappointing, Greg.
Right, okay, Melanie, thanks for your time this morning. I'm not sure if I made it clear or if you made it clear. When do we believe that this happened?
Well, the service closed on Friday afternoon, and then we reopened on Monday, and then that's when we realised when all staff and when the staff on the Helping Hands came for work on Monday morning, that's when we realised.
What a way to start the week. All right. Okay, Melanie, thanks for your time. Well done on that in terms
Thank
of
you so much,
helping
Greg.
us to get the message out. I appreciate it. Melanie Sweeney there, project coordinator of the Family Resource Centre in Refugee. Their programme Helping Hands, which does great work and has been doing so for over a decade. They volunteer to help older people in the community, maybe mow their lawn, tidy up around the house, wash their windows. Turned in on Monday morning to start another week of doing that. The shipping container had been broken into, 2 lawnmowers, 2 hedge cutters, a power washer, 2 trimmers and 2 blowers, all taken. So someone must have seen something. If you have, please get in contact with the Gardaí and the old check your dash cam footage, the usual stuff. All right, we'll be back with more shortly.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny.
Live free in 23 with Dunlow GAA Club. €500 cash paid weekly, a luxury holiday, hotel stays and more. Winner takes all. Live free in 23.ie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
Total ban on sprays proposed. For more in this week's Farmer's Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Crop and rush sprays in the firing line under EU plans. Future land designations not ruled out by Minister. Farmer fallout from Food Vision Dairy Group report, which recommends a dairy cow exit scheme. Turkish buyers driving the weaning trade. And farmers have 2 months to dezone from land tax.
Plus, find out how you can reduce your feed costs this winter. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Let Joe McGee Butchers feed your family with their 5 for €20 deal. Choose from our fantastic deli range. Lasagnas, cottage pie, chicken curry and soups. Just a sample of our fine products, all made in store, only at Joe McGee Butchers, Letterkenny and Glencar shopping centres. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Hegarty's Auto Body Repairs in Letterkenny have been keeping cars on the road across the northwest for the past 50 years. Hegarty's are the only Ford-approved body shop in the northwest, but repair all makes and models. Paintless dent removal, windscreen replacement and restoration work. Hegarty's even mix their own paint. Approved by most insurance companies and certified Steel Standards Ireland. That's Hegarty's Auto Body, Letterkenny. For all vehicle repairs. See Hegartys.com.
Joe Gallagher Entertainment presents Mac Fleetwood, Europe's premier tribute to Fleetwood Mac. Live at Ungrainen Theatre, Letterkenny on Saturday the 14th of January. Hear the classic Fleetwood Mac songs that you know and love. Tickets available from Ungrainen Theatre box office and ungrainen.com.
The Kilkenny Design Sale is now on. There's up to 50% off. Almost everything is reduced. It's the perfect excuse to start your Christmas shopping early, with fantastic offers on gifts across all departments. Visit a Kilkenny Design store or go to kilkennyshop.com for more info.
Celebrating the 25th anniversary of the first Joe Dolan Bundoran Music Festival, a spectacular Christmas party night at the Allingham Arms Hotel on Friday, December the 16th, with the sensational Joe Dolan Show, Remembering Joe, featuring 5 vocalists with the Dolan family and the original Joe Dolan Band, cabaret dinner and accommodation if required. Now booking at the Allingham Arms or online at showtours.ie. Revive the 90s in Bundoran on December the 16th at the Allingham.
All right, I do sometimes scratch my head. A listener says, and I appreciate the text, by the way, all texts are appreciated. Greg, you're always doing your best to put down Sinn Féin. I thought you were supposed to be impartial, did that text come in this morning? It did, yeah. What I was saying, right, what I was saying is that I was saying that for some reason the national papers never give Sinn Féin credit for their position in the polls. I said they always speak about the polls rather than saying, Sinn Féin is double what Fine Gael are or double what Fianna Fáil are, is that they always speak about Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael, but never actually reference the fact that Sinn Féin are so far and away ahead of them. They're talking about government parties receiving a bounce, yet if you add them all up, they are only there or thereabouts equal to what Sinn Féin is polling on its own. I mean, how is that putting Sinn Féin down? If you could text me back and explain it, or even if you want to come on and talk about it, 086 60 25,000. But maybe the ears hear what the ears want to hear. I think it's going to be interesting when Sinn Féin are in. I think it's going to be interesting when Sinn Féin are in government. As an everyday listener to Highland Radio, I'm shocked at the decision taken by a few individual elected candidates of DCC to block Ukraine refugees from staying in our county. It would be of benefit to both landlords and local communities. We're turning into a country of dictatorship. There's consultation with local communities and towns on these matters. What's the point of having a business or working when we are no longer in control of what we do? A very annoyed listener. Well, you see, there is no consultation with local communities in towns and villages. There is after the fact, whereby they say, hey, we've got some new people here. What can you do to assist? There's very, very little consultation as it relates to changes that are made or people being brought in. Also, it seems that a lot of people have been centred in certain areas, okay, and those resources in those areas can take no more. That's what people are saying in reality. And then we have hundreds of people very generously offering accommodation and those offers being rejected. So I don't know. I don't think it reflects poorly on the county, but I take your point. I really do. Right, okay, so Donegal County Council has approved Pot 8 planning for the reimagined Market Square project in Letterkenny Town Centre. Some changes have been made. to the initial draft that went to public consultation, most notably the retention of the taxi ranks outside the market centre. Councillor Jerry McMonigal of Sinn Féin joins us now to discuss this. Good morning, Jerry. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Greg. Good morning to all the listeners.
I think it's good to see common sense prevail. You want people dropped off and picked up in your town centre, don't you? I mean, to sort of decouple, where you want to make a sort of like a hub of a town, but also how people get in and out of that town wouldn't have made much sense in terms of design, but in terms of the business of taxing.
Yeah, look, this has been going on for about 3 years now. And in relation to the reimagining and the reinvention of the square, there's been a lot of talk about it, a lot of interaction with the local community. We had widespread public consultation with all the stakeholders, businesses, taxi drivers, operators, and the local community. And it was one of the biggest engagements we had in that outreach work and public consultation. We had a competition then in relation to the design of the square, and we got people to vote then on the number of designs or concepts that were submitted. And then we got an idea for how we should proceed. And obviously, and that required a Part 8, and we're now at that stage. And in the lead up to the Part 8, we had further public consultation and outreach and communication, again, with all the stakeholders. There was then a report provided in front of us, the councillors there, on Tuesday, and that was the manager's report on the back of all that engagement. And he was ordering that the scheme go ahead, that the taxis would be removed completely from the market square and in front of the market centre, and be relocated on the main street outside some businesses below the square, and that the disability parking would also be removed to facilitate the future development of the square. So when we as councillors looked at that and listened to the consultation and engagements we had, we felt it was wrong to penalise businesses by putting taxi ranks outside their business that would harm them. We needed the disability parking as close to that amenity, the reimagined square, as close as possible. And we also seen the need for taxi operators to be allowed to pick up and drop off customers at that location. So what we settled for was that the 3 remaining taxi ranks would stay in front of the market centre, directly across from the new square. The disability parking would move 10 metres to below the square to outside the Ulster Bank. And that allowed us to not engage in taking up much needed parking space outside the local businesses.
Okay, so there's quite a lot of taxi spots around the market square. So 3 are going to remain, and they're not going to be provided space in front of those businesses. That's one of the reasons you said that you needed to rotate. So where are taxi drivers going to park then? They're an incredibly important part, I would have thought, of any town, because they are what fills the gap where public transport should be. So where other than these 3 spots, where are taxi people going to be doing their business?
Yeah, and as I say, this wasn't taken lightly. It was based on the back of a number of surveys carried out by the planning department in relation to the market square and the need for taxi ranks in the main street area. And the survey showed that at any one time that the maximum amount of taxi ranks that were probably needed was 7. So there's 3 now in front of the market centre, and there's 3 down below, about 100 yards down the street outside the kitchen cafe area. That's a total of 6. There was also discussions about further taxi ranks being made available, and there was a commitment given from our road section and road engineer that they would conduct a survey now of all the taxi ranks around the town, because as you know, the one at Mr. Chippy's now has probably the busiest of all. It's the one where the majority of taxi drivers take up their rank and present themselves. There's not as many taxis now using the square.
Can I just say respectfully, though? Can I just say respectfully, I'm not from Letterkenny. I presume the Mr. Chippy location is to target people going to and getting off buses. I presume there's more taxis in the centre of Letterkenny, say, for instance, at night time, Friday, Saturday, Sunday nights, other times. I mean, I presume the shift in where the taxis are located depends on the clientele and what time of the day it is. I mean, if you turn up there at 11 o'clock, if you go to Letterkenny Market Square at 11 o'clock, I'm not sure you're going to see many taxis there in the morning, but you might see, 8 or 9 up where buses, where people get on and get off buses. I mean, did you consult much with taxi operators, Jerry? I want to move on to the more positive elements of this, but I have a feeling this could be the fly in the ointment in the planning process. How much consultation with taxi representatives was there before this decision was taken, I wonder?
In the report that was furnished to us, there was a number of meetings with taxi operators last October and again on April of this year. Look, and there's none of us have a wall. All the councillors are available 24/7. A number of taxi drivers would have made their comments known to you. We have to look at the bigger picture in all of this, because we're talking about the market square. We're talking about developing a square that's going to be accessible to all and have multi-purpose uses. One that can bring extra footfall and extra business and events into the heart of Letterkenny. And that there is what has to drive us. And what we need to do is work together in partnerships. And that's why there was so much extensive public consultation. The public bought into this in a big way. There was regular meetings as well with businesses, and taxi operators were consulted on this here as well. So,
okay.
I mean,
well, listen,
when we
got
the report we got.
Understood.
That's all we can work on, Greg.
Of course, but also you've made your comments in terms of that your own observations about how taxis work and where they might be located. Stay with us, because I've just had Hugh McFadden, a taxi representative, put through. And as I say, I think this is going to be maybe the fly in the ointment, and we'll speak about the positive elements of this too in a moment. But I want to bring Hugh in. Hugh, I'm not sure how much you heard from Councillor McMonagle there, but what is the views of the taxi industry?
Well, I'm not long up in my bed, so you can excuse me for being a wee bit groggy here. But the fact of the matter is, Jerry's talking a lot of waffle. At no time did he have any consultation with us whatsoever. We met with a woman called Miss Macaulay, which is the planner of the project, and 2 engineers. Now, I met with them myself personally for a cup of coffee one day as a sort of a talk over. And then myself and John Doherty and Sean McGinley met them out in the County Council. That's the only time we have ever had any talking or any meeting with anybody. So wherever Jerry's going on about, we have had consultations, we have had meetings, that's a load of rubbish. We did not. And the taxi drivers are not in favour of this, as they were told. Now, yesterday morning is the first time that I heard that the new Plan C was brought forward. Because the original plan was they were going to shove us away up the street, up towards McGee's. Now, the second plan was to shove us away down the street. And all of a sudden, yesterday, the magic bullet came in and it says that they're going to leave the 3 taxi ranks at the front.
Is that enough, or why is more required? And I want to bring Councillor McMonagle in to comment on your comments, but I just want to clarify from your position. Is it not the case that maybe the majority of taxis do operate up towards Mr. Chippy, and that 3 spaces, 7 might be required, 3 on the market square, 3 a little bit further down, and sure we can see what happens with the 7th at some point?
As was explained the last day, whenever you're sitting at the market square, you cover a certain area of the town. When you sit at Mr. Chippy, you cover the other areas of the town. There are certain drivers in this town that don't have companies to work off. They're freelancers, and they work freely on their own bat. And they sit in the market square, or they sit down at Mr. Chippy. It all depends on what time of the day. So they know what time or what work they're working from. It could, if they're sitting at the market square, it could be out the Glenswilly direction, out the Old Town direction, up Glencar direction. And then anybody down at Mr. Chippy, it's the opposite direction.
All right, so are you going to object to this then? I presume there's a planning process to be gone through.
I before I left yesterday, I told that I told the lady involved that we were railroaded as per usual. And as far as I'm concerned, the next step is on board Penala. If that doesn't succeed, then we'll take legal action. At the end of the day, back a number of years ago, when I'm only at this 17 years, but there's guys at this a lot longer than I am. And we paid €6,500 per car in order to work in the town, to apply for trade in the public place. Every single car, and that was in the guts. That was the guts of nearly €1 million or £1 million, whatever it was at that time.
Listen, I want to bring Councillor McMonagle back in here. Councillor, in fairness, right, if a plan was agreed that displaced 5 or 6 businesses from the market square, I mean, you and other councillors would be some of the first to say this is completely unacceptable. This is people's livelihoods. You know, that you can't do this. Yet we do have people, and this is their business, being displaced from where they can, you know, make a success of their business. It doesn't seem fair, Jerry.
Well, Greg, first of all, just to answer Q's comments there, I didn't say that I spoke. I said that the council spoke and the planners did, and that's the right way to go about it. We are available 24/7 if taxi operators wanted to make it known to us their opinions, and we welcome that. But we have to look at what you say as businesses, and we look at the bigger picture. The council, in fairness to them, have invested an awful lot in providing facilities for the taxi operators and engagements with them down through the years. And as a result, we have a number of taxi ranks around the town. We're sitting here now at a project which has the potential to change the whole dynamic of our main street and to bring businesses and people back into the main street. And the taxi operators will play a role in that. They're still being facilitated. They're still being facilitated at the square. They're still being facilitated at the square, and they're still being facilitated 100 metres down the road. We have told and said to you that we are also committed to doing a review of all taxi stands throughout the town and to see where we can improve them and add further taxi ranks in the main street area. That there is work that's going to be starting very, very shortly. That is work that's going to be starting very, very shortly. And I would hope that people like you and all our taxi operators would engage with the council and give us their opinions. But I could just say one last thing.
1 second.
Say one last thing before Hugh would come in. I would just say one last thing before Hugh can come in, Greg. During Hugh's comments, he pointed out the difficulties there is in trying to get a agreed position from taxi operators, because there's so many of them. There's not the companies that there was before, where you could have a very good conversation with them. There's a lot of individuals now involved in it, so it's very, very hard to get a definitive position from them.
Well, that's a fair point, Hugh, isn't it?
That's rubbish.
That's rubbish.
Can I just, Jerry, let Hugh back in.
You're not anywhere next to near committed. You're not anywhere near next to near committed. You live in a fairyland. If you think for 1 minute that spending the guts of nearly €3 million to redevelop a market square, you're living in cloud cuckoo land if you think that's going to bring people into the town.
Yes, but rather than arguing whether or not the development of the square is a good or bad idea,
Greg,
is it possible?
Look at the plans. Look at the plans.
Yes,
the plans show that they're putting a public toilet and putting a tourist office up where the bandstand is. How do those people get into the town? Vast majority of people that come into this town as tourists bring camper vans or other vehicles. They don't come walking or cycling. So, one, you're going to start bringing a whole load of people into the town. Then you're going to have people parking here, there, and everywhere. Because if they want to use the toilets up at the very top of the market square, they're going to have to park somewhere. So where are they going to park? Now, the other problem is as well, these plans have changed more times than enough. Because whenever the original plan was drawn, they forgot to realise that there was a car park up at the top left-hand corner of the market square, a private car park, and 2 private entrances. Now, Jerry's on about having consultation with all the rest of the taxi drivers, and that there's that many of them that's rubbish. I have 54 signatures from every taxi driver, or most taxi drivers in the town, that have objected to this. And it's funny how I can speak to them. There's no problem me speaking to them.
Yes, but there was a public
But at
consultation.
no time have they ever come near us.
Yes, but there was a public consultation process, Hugh, where everyone, all interested parties, were invited to engage with that. I mean, surely that would have been the time to. That would have been but that would have been the time to gather up the 54 signatures and make a submission on behalf of a big and I think an important group of individuals that operate and work in the town. Right.
We did. And as I said on my letter whenever I submitted it, that I didn't want them starting to use their bully boy tactics and push us around like they always do. Because they close off the main street whenever they feel like closing it off without even talking to us.
All right,
then
now,
we have to go and find somewhere else to park.
Okay, now, listen, Jerry McMonagle's not the spokesperson for this project, so there's no point us back and forwarding too long, but you're saying that you are going to, as a group, oppose this with On Board Planala, and if it doesn't succeed, you're even prepared to go down the legal route, such as the anger out there?
If necessary, yes.
Okay. Hugh, thanks for your time.
This is not any way agreed at all.
Right, okay. Thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate that. I just want to focus maybe on that's very important, but a bit of the positive elements to this as well, Councillor McMonagle. I mean, Hugh has his feelings as to what this difference this might make. I mean, toilets located up at the top of the top. Initial plans didn't include parking for people with a disability. It's has this been properly thought through?
It's about having an all-inclusive space, and that's what design hopes to do, having a number of features, and it's about being welcoming. And the square is not in isolation, Greg. It's part of a number of sections of the town that are being redeveloped through the urban regeneration grant monies that we receive, all of which together collectively will be a game changer for Letterkenny and will change the face of Letterkenny and how we get about it. The whole connectivity of it, the other talk about we're looking at another market type square where all activities could happen, the redevelopment of the Cathedral Quarter, the change of use from the old courthouse into a tourist information hub, and then the redevelopment of the Pierce Road and the Lower Main Street area. So there's a number of pieces of this jigsaw, and I have no doubt it's going to take a period of years, but it's very positive news for Letterkenny, and it's about being inclusive, and it's about accessible to all. It's about moving away from the use of cars and trying and encouraging people to do more walking or cycling. And we see there.
Yeah, but you see the thing with just in relation to that, you talk about accessibility, right? You talk about discouraging people to use cars. The way you do that is public transport, and in the absence of public transport, it is the likes of taxis that do that. Honestly, I thought the taxis would be really embraced into this because of the pivotal role they will play, particularly for people maybe with mobility issues. Letterkenny's on quite a steep hill, I wouldn't fancy, if I had mobility issues, getting dropped off that 100 metres below the market square and trying to make my way up, even if I was in, a lot of people might be beyond a lot of people. So I would have thought taxi drivers would have been an integral part of these plans, but it seems they're being, they might feel sacrificed.
No, and not, I don't want the message to get out there. They're not sacrificed. There was a public consultation. They're an integral part of Letterkenny and how we're going to get about it now and into the future. And it's about us all working together. But if we look even at the new one-way system that's been put in place around the cathedral area, I mean, that there in itself, it manages traffic, it slows it down, it has a lot of wide footpaths, it has good crossing points. And that in itself is encouraging people now to get to school a different way.
Does it have cycle lanes?
No, it doesn't have cycle lanes.
Brilliant, isn't it?
No, what it has is wide footpaths, and
it doesn't have cycle lanes, Jerry. I mean, this stuff, I don't know how we can be welcoming in 2023 new road infrastructure to encourage people to travel in a different way to slow traffic down, and there is no cycle lanes.
Yeah, but in the particular area that we're talking about in that Cathedral Quarter one-way system, we talk about, it was about the safety of the pedestrian and about making it a lot safer and accessible for them people. That has done that job. Right. It's clearly done that, Greg, if people don't go and have a look at it.
Yeah.
But back to the square is just, as I say, that's all, they're all part of the jigsaw to it, and everybody is welcome. Their opinions are welcome, and all their opinions are being listened to. But it's not just one side. I mean, we have the local businesses who there was a potential here on the manager's orders that there have been 6 car parking spaces lost to 6-7 local businesses just below the square. And as councillors, we couldn't stand by that.
Yeah, I get you.
Couldn't stand by that. The surveys showed us that there was sufficient taxi ranks now available in that area, going by the number of surveys that were taken at different times and at different stages. There's a commitment now to have the review of all the taxi stands. And again, hopefully the taxi operators will engage with us and work with us on that. And there's a commitment that we would include further taxi ranks in the main street area.
Okay.
You know, change will always bring a bit of angst, but it's going to be for the better of Letterkenny.
I mean, I think it's going to be exciting when it's all done and dusted. I mean, obviously, it's important. I think people that feel they're being disadvantaged get a voice and getting a chance to have their opinion. But over the course of time, I'm sure the focus on this will be in a much more positive light. Hopefully, if their needs are met and there's agreement elsewhere and stuff. But for now, listen, thank you very much for giving us this overview of it, Jerry. Your time's greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg.
Bye-bye, Councillor Jerry McMonigal there. Okay, it is the 9 till noon show here on Highland Radio. I just want to give you a chance to win some tickets here, and you've got over the 10 o'clock news and a wee bit beyond to take part. We'll run it for all of the morning, by the way, but here's how you can win 3 tickets into this fantastic draw.
On today's show, with thanks to our sponsors Dunloe GAA, we're giving 2 lucky people the chance to win 3 tickets each for the Live Free in 23 draw. This amazing draw has 5 fantastic prizes, including €500 into your bank account every week in the year 2023 and a luxury 5-night holiday to Dubai. For the chance to win these tickets, simply answer the following question. Every year, Dunloe has a festival. What is it called? Is it A, the Mary from Dunloe Festival, or B, the Annie from Dunloe Festival? Text or WhatsApp the word HI plus your answer, name and address to 086 60 25,000. Standard text rates apply.
Over 500,000 women experience in silence here at any one time. Yet is a natural part of a woman's life. But because hasn't been talked about, women often don't even recognise it in themselves. Can cause anxiety, impact relationships, disrupt sleep, trigger hot flushes and more. Let's take the mystery out of menopause. Be informed. Talk about it. See gov.ie/menopause. And of the Government of Ireland.
Want unbeatable value from Sky? Here's the deal. Get Sky Broadband Plus, our award-winning Sky Q box for the amazing low price of just €39 a month. Super fast, super reliable broadband. And Sky Q with your apps and recordings. That's Sky Broadband Plus Sky Q for just €39 a month for 12 months. Now that is unbeatable value. Go to sky.ie. Availability subject to location. Offer does not include Sky TV subscription. New Sky customers only. Setup fees, minimum term and further terms apply. For more info, see sky.ie/speeds.
Easy Living Furniture's Oktoberfest sale ends this Sunday. Absolutely everything reduced with up to 60% off sofas, dining, bedroom and mattresses that are in stock and ready for delivery. With 0% interest-free finance available for up to 2 years and with no deposit, the decision is easy. Oktoberfest sale ends Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Attention all car owners, mechanics and garages. T-Met Limited, Northern Ireland's leading new and used car parts for all makes and models. With depots at Derry, Londonderry, Coleraine, Armagh and Belfast. Next day delivery available throughout Ireland. For details, log on to our website t-met.co.uk.
If you're about to use an electrical appliance, like your washing machine, which uses a lot of energy, just ask the question, is this a good time?
Ah, yeah. It's fairly breezy out. You're good to go.
If it's windy out, it is a good time, because wind generates renewable energy, which Ireland will be relying on more and more. For customised advice, tips and helpful information, such as finding out the best times to use electrical appliances like your washing machine, sign up to our pilot at esbnetworks.ie/pilot.
Did you know that all household electronic and lighting items are free to recycle?
When you recycle e-waste, you're not just preventing it going to landfill, you're also giving it new life, recovering valuable resources that can be used again, and stopping harmful substances from entering our environment. Recycle for free with WE at your local authority recycling centre or participating electrical retailer. Visit weireland.ie for details. A message from We Ireland, the government-approved scheme for electrical and battery recycling.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, it's 10 o'clock. Donald Kavanagh at the news desk. The Mayor of Letterkenny Municipal District says the process of reinvigorating Letterkenny's Market Square could have been delayed had agreement not been reached this week on taxi spaces. The original draft proposal saw all taxi spaces taken away from Market Square and outside Market Centre and moved down Main Street toward the Courtyard Shopping Centre. However, following a public consultation and discussions with members, that was amended to retain the taxi rank outside Market Centre. The revised proposal was accepted by councillors at a special meeting this week. Work is set to start next year. Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly says it was the right decision.
What's been proposed here to leave the three taxi ranks where they always have been outside the Market Square and move the two disabled parking bays on the right down in front of the Ulster Bank. I think that's the right decision. Listen, I think if we didn't propose this, it was going to set this whole project back of the revamping of the Market Square, and that's something I was eager not to see, because I think going forward with this is the right way to go. It's a game changer for Letterkenny.
However, taxi drivers are unhappy with the new arrangements. They say they will challenge this through An Bord Pleanála, and if that fails, they say they will consider legal action. The Stormont Assembly is being recalled today in a last-ditch bid to secure a Speaker and First and Deputy First Ministers. If, as expected, that can't be achieved, then the Northern Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris has said he will call a pre-Christmas election tomorrow, December 15th, thought the most likely date. Meanwhile, Senator George Mitchell will virtually address the Oireachtas Committee on the implementation of the Good Friday Agreement today. The special envoy appointed by the former US President Bill Clinton is expected to comment on the current political impasse at Stormont. John Tong is Professor of Politics at University of Liverpool. He says this is an opportunity to reflect on where the institutions are and how they can be improved.
You've had chronic political instability, devolved power sharing keeps collapsing, and there's question marks over the future of the political institutions in Northern Ireland. They need addressing, so the 25th anniversary of the Good Friday Agreement shouldn't simply be a cause for celebration. It should also be a cause for reflection and a look at how the institutions that were set up 25 years ago might usefully be reformed.
The Helping Hands project at the Family Resource Centre in Refugee is in jeopardy after a break-in at its base at the weekend. Around €2,500 worth of equipment used in the maintenance of gardens and homes was taken, including 2 lawnmowers, 2 hedge trimmers, 2 blowers and a power washer. The service closed on Friday afternoon, and when staff and volunteers returned on Monday, they noticed the break-in had happened over the weekend. Melanie Sweeney is project coordinator at the centre. She spoke to Greg on today's 9 till noon show.
The Helping Hands project has been operating nearly 10 years. It's there to support older people in the community or those who are no longer able to carry out maintenance tasks outside the home. So it's a really, really busy service. It cuts grass, cuts the hedges, cleans windows. It does so much, checking in with older people and stuff like that. It's just such a lot this week because obviously nothing's happened. Going forward, I don't really know what we're going to do.
Around 400,000 homeowners are poised to face higher monthly repayments. Another interest rate hike is expected when the Governing Council of the European Central Bank meets today. A 0.75% increase is on the cards as the bank attempts to control inflation across Europe. It'll be the third interest rate hike this year. Between them, the rise will be in the region of 2%. Economist and Managing Director of Financial Services at Sherry Fitzgerald, Shane Quinlan, says this will hit homeowners in the pocket.
If you look at a typical tracker, maybe with about 200,000 remaining over a 15-year term, that means an extra €180 per month, which I suppose equates to about 2,000 per year. There is speculation we'll see another increase for the end of the year, and we could be possibly at 3% around the middle of next year. That would mean an extra €300 per month for a typical tracker customer, and up 3,500 per year. So the change is significant.
And the number of students seeking exemptions from learning Irish is worrying, according to Conradh na Gaeilge. The Oireachtas Committee on the Irish Language heard this week the number of students exempt from the subject in schools has risen from 2% in 1999 to nearly 11% last year. Education Minister Norma Foley has defended a revised process under which students can seek exemptions. Julian Despain from Conran and Gaeilge says each student's individual needs should be assessed.
What we would see from the experts, they would say that about 2 to 3% would definitely have profound learning needs and would need exemptions. And what we see from, again, what was discussed yesterday in the DAW was that 2/3 of them are doing a separate language, even though they have their exemptions. So what we would say is that the actual system that we have for the teaching of Ireland is wrong. It's not working, so we need to change it.
Weather forecast on Highland Radio and Met Éireann tell us we can expect outbreaks of rain this morning. That'll ease in the afternoon, leaving a drier day with some sunshine for a time. However, heavy rain will hit the west coast again by evening. It'll be mild for the time of year. Temperatures of 15 to 17 degrees Celsius in the afternoon. Moderate southerly winds increasing fresh to strong and gusty later. Widespread rain at first tonight. Locally heavy with a chance of some embedded thunderstorms. That rain will clear all but the most eastern parts of the region by morning. Clear spells and heavy showers will follow. Lowest overnight temperatures of 9 to 10 degrees Celsius. In moderate southerly winds, we'll see some sunny spells and scattered showers tomorrow. Some of those showers heavy in top temperatures of 14 to 16 degrees Celsius. Once again, winds will be mostly moderate, fresher in the western part of the region. And that's Highland Radio News. We're back with local news again at 11 o'clock. Until then, from the news team, good morning. The obituary notices for this Thursday morning, the 27th of October. The death has taken place of Una Mooney, née Ledden, Swilly Road, Buncrana, formerly of Balnamore, County Leitrim. Her remains are reposing at her residence. Funeral from there tomorrow morning at 10:20, going to St Mary's Church, Cockhill for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass with burial afterwards in the adjoining cemetery. The death has taken place of Colm Doherty, Stonywood, Cooldaff. His remains are reposing at his home. Funeral from there on Saturday morning at 10:15 for 11 o'clock Requiem Mass in St Mary's Church, Buchan, Cooldaff, followed by burial in the adjoining cemetery. Family time, please, from 10 p.m. to 11 a.m. and on the morning of the funeral. Colm's funeral mass can be viewed live on cooldaffparish.com. And the death has taken place of Seamus Strain, Forker, Milford. Seamus will repose at his brother Sean's residence, Moyle Road, Milford, from 11 o'clock this morning until 10 o'clock this evening. Requiem Mass in St Peter's Church, Milford at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning, followed by interment in Milford Cemetery. Funeral Mass can be viewed live on churchservices.tv. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
The county's #1 talk show, The 9 till Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Good morning again. You're very welcome back to the 9 till Noon Show, or good morning if you're just joining us. Where were you? You missed a lively first hour. 086 60 25,000, WhatsApps and texts, calls to 07491 25,000. Right, let's have a look at some of your comments here. It's really time for a proper town bus service in Letterkenny. Sligo has a proper bus service with the same population. Not everyone can afford taxis. Maybe it's been tried before, or I think something like that. Maybe it's already there. But what I would have thought what you'd want is a 1 or 2 smaller buses that follow a defined route. They go up the main street, down the main street, in around the shops in the new part of the town, in inverted commas. Maybe scoot back up, rotate around the roundabout at Tesco there and back up the main street and down and just keep going and stopping when someone sticks their hand out. Hop on and hop off. As I say, I don't think you could necessarily do it as a money-making exercise in the first instance, but if it was there and established, I presume there's nothing there like that, is there? But if it was there and established, people might start changing their behaviours, leaving the car, parking the car elsewhere. I think I would. I know I would use it, for sure. I'd love it. But anyway, the council needs to have a serious look at the Creaslet diversion. It could work perfectly if it was properly signed. For instance, visitors leaving Downing's direction going to Letterkenny are following the diversion sign for Doe Castle. Likewise, people coming towards Downing's are going up Duntally. A very simple one-way sign should also be on these diversions as traffic is going both ways on both roads. You can have up to half an hour wait trying to get off this road as a result of bad signage. There's going to be a serious accident with big lorries and buses unless signage makes it one way and makes it clear you don't need to go towards Doe Castle to get to Letterkenny. I'm not sure when that text went in. We've been informed by the council that they've since put in new signage there. If you are that texter and you've spotted this new signage and you think it's improved things, let us know. Greg, can you ask Jerry McMonigal if they're going to put the toilets back in the Market Square where they were years ago, as we need public toilets in Letterkenny? That comes in from Union. Yeah, apparently the plans do include public toilets there. Greg, any councillors able to tell us when the bottle banks will be back in Falcara? No, but it's one we can check. Well, I'm sure there are, but we'll check that out for you. Hi, Greg. I'd love them to do a poll with this government in Donegal. I don't think they'd even get on the poll, thanks. It would be interesting. And I suppose really we will see. One must remember, though, that there are a lot of people out there with different ways of thinking. There's Fine Gael are a popular party in much of Donegal. They're very popular amongst the farming community, apparently. So Fine Gael might do better than you'd expect. Fianna Fáil have long-term, loyal Fianna Fáil supporters, Fianna Fáil party members that would vote for them. So I don't think there'd be a wipeout here as much as people might think if you think about it. Ask him how many taxi licences are there. I don't know how many taxi licences there are, but Hugh told us that he has signatures of 54 taxi drivers, so there's at least 54. Morning, Greg. Can you ask Jerry, will there be public toilets at the square again? Yeah, they're in the plans, apparently. Another 3 spaces might remain, but we have lost 9 spaces. Business for us, taxi people, is difficult enough. And as I say, I genuinely think taxi people are really, really very important. I want to mention that I'm not saying the planners don't think that's the case, but in terms of how you move around a space, in the absence of a bus or something, the taxis are, for a lot of people, the only show in town. The Trinity and Trenta Women's Group are hosting a hospice, coffee morning and cake sale tomorrow morning between 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. It's in the lecture hall below the Trinity Presbyterian Church on Letterkenny Main Street. And I also want to mention that a quiz and raffle in aid of Princess TJ Needham McDade takes place in Harkins Bar, Broca. It's tomorrow at 9 p.m. So if you like your pubs quizzes and you want to contribute to the aid of Princess TJ Needham McDade, then get along to Harkins Bar in Broca for a fun quiz, a pub quiz. I never said it's a fun pub quiz. I said it. I think it would be fun. I think it's a standard pub quiz, though, for serious quizzers. It takes place tomorrow night at 9 p.m. in Harkins Bar, Broca. There'll be a quiz there as well. So you can have a bit of fun, test your knowledge, and also support that cause there. Good luck if you're playing the bingo today. Here's the numbers for you.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Thursday, the 27th of October, Jackpot Day. You're playing for the jackpot prize of €11,600 on the pink sheet. The reference number is S14. It's game number 43. The jackpot number is 24. This number can come out in any position from the next 10 numbers drawn. And now, here are your daily numbers. 86, 40, 76, 38, 49, 55, 77, 45, 87, and finally 54. Phone your claim to 91048333 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Live free in 2023 with Dunloe GAA Club. €500 cash weekly, a holiday to Dubai, All Ireland final tickets and more. Winner takes all. Live free in 23.ie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
Brian McCormick, Sports and Leisure, Main Street, Letterkenny. In football, Nike Tiempo Legend Soft Ground in classic black. Adidas Predator Edge, soft ground boots in classic black. Look like Ronaldo in the new Adidas Man United home or away jersey. Or try Salah in the new Nike Liverpool jersey. Get your free name and number printed when you purchase a jersey. Join our Christmas club by opening an account today at Brian McCormick Sports, Main Street, Letterkenny.
On this week's Business Matters, I'll be joined by the Regional Director with Enterprise Ireland for the West and North West regions, Maeve Conahan. So join me, Ciara O'Donnell, for Business Matters on Sunday evening after the 6 o'clock news. The Business Matters podcast is also available to download at highlandradio.com.
Business Matters in association with the ATU Donegal Faculty of Business. If you're looking to reinforce your leadership skills, ATU are offering Level 9 Executive Masters in Leadership and Innovation for private and public sector managers, starting in January. Take the next step in your career and call 9186206 or email donald.hannigan@atu.ie.
The High Kings, celebrating 15 years together as Ireland's favourite folk group, are back at the Mount Errigal Hotel, Letterkenny, December 28th, and Omagh St Enda's GAA Club, December 30th. Tickets available from venue box offices, hotel reception and ticketmaster.ie. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
With the ongoing war in Ukraine affecting the cost of energy, many of us are facing a challenging winter. Through Budget 23, Government is introducing a range of supports to lessen the financial impact on families, households and businesses, and will continue to monitor the situation in the coming months to protect those in difficulty. It's important that everyone stays warm and well, but where safe and possible to do so, reducing energy use can also reduce bills. Changes like turning your thermostat down by 1 degree and considering how often you use energy-intensive appliances like tumble dryers can make a big difference. For information on available supports and energy-saving advice, visit gov.ie/reduce your use. Brought to you by the Government of Ireland.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
Okay, outbreaks of rain this morning will break up in the afternoon and it'll be drier for a time with some sunshine. And I just want to let you know too that if you're listening in the Drummonor, excuse me please, if you're listening in the Drummonor area of Buncrana, the Donegal Fire Service are advising you to close your windows and doors, keep them closed. There's a fire in the area and obviously the fire service want to ensure that the fumes or the smoke does not enter your home. So Donegal Fire Service wish to advise that following a fire in Drummonor, Buncrana, residents in that area are advised to keep windows and doors closed until smoke plume disseminates. Okay. Right, we're joined on the programme now by Dr. Ash Memon. Good morning to you, Doctor. I hope I got the pronunciation of your name correctly. Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Thank you, Greg. It's Ash Memon.
Lovely. Okay, I was close, and I want to make sure for our future conversations to get that correct, Doctor. Now, should we start with the important message here? Because we're talking in the context of World Stroke Day on Saturday, the 29th of October. We can talk about, what may lead to a stroke, how we can prevent it. But let's start first with people who are having a stroke but arrive at the hospital later than they possibly should. I think that's the real important thing here, isn't it? Everything's important, but let's start with that. So what are the signs that someone is having a stroke, Doctor?
See, generally the signs can be diverse, okay? And some people can have one sign, some can have more than one, some can have multiple signs. So like let's say that somebody develops weakness or numbness in the arm or leg. If somebody develops weakness in the half of the face, or facial droop, or feeling numbness in the face, or somebody develops sudden problem with the speech, unable to talk, unable to express himself or herself, or somebody develops sudden problem with the balance, unable to walk all of a sudden, and or somebody develops problems with their vision, all of a sudden they can't see. So these all are the signs of the stroke. If somebody develops any one or more than one sign of these symptoms, they should seek medical attention immediately.
Now, a lot of people might say, I'll see how I feel in half an hour. I might go and have a lie down. It could be this, it could be that. But if any of those symptoms or a combination of them present, err on the side of caution, because the earlier you get treatment, the better the outcome, because that delay or that putting it off could have long-lasting consequences for you that perhaps otherwise could be avoided.
Absolutely. The treatment options which we have for the patients with acute stroke are highly time-dependent. Let's say, I will give you an example that we have two major options of the treatment for the acute stroke when the patient comes with acute stroke. In one option, we use a strong medicine, we call it thrombolytic agent. This is a clot-dissolving medication, clot-busting medicine, which dissolves the clot. It's a very efficient medication, very effective medicine, and it's very strong medicine. But it must be given within 4.5 hours since the symptoms started. Let's say if somebody develops the symptoms at around 12 p.m., this medicine must be given before 4:30 p.m. to have its maximum beneficial effect. Beyond that window period, this medicine has a very limited effect. Other option we have, if we do the scan when they come into the hospital with a stroke, and we see that if they have a visible clot in the blood vessels of the brain, we send them to Beaumont Hospital to take that clot out. We call that procedure thrombectomy. This procedure must be done within 24 hours since the symptoms started. Now, there are other criteria also apply when we select the patients for either of these treatments. But among all those criteria, time is most important one. If the patient is outside the time window for either of this treatment, then other criteria cannot also apply. So therefore, it's very, very important if somebody develops any sign and symptom of stroke, they must seek medical attention immediately to get their chances that they can avail this treatment and to reduce, you can say, disabling effects of the stroke.
And I think it's important too to make it clear, Doctor, that, I mean, obviously, and we're not going to get into this conversation, we hear of bed pressure at Letterkenny University Hospital, we will hear of long delays at the ED, the same as an awful lot of hospitals and what have you. But in this type of an emergency incident, this is a fast-tracked emergency situation, isn't it? So if people have heard about the hospital and have reservations, put those reservations to one side. If you are presented with the symptoms of a stroke, there is a very clear pathway to give you your best outcome.
Absolutely. We have actually recently introduced, as you're aware, all the people community, that we have opened an acute stroke unit. And since its opening, a lot of changes have happened in the stroke service. One of the change that we have introduced a fast call system. Whenever we are receiving the call from ambulance that some patient with stroke symptoms are coming, we activate here fast call. That means that all the relevant staff which need to deal with that stroke patient will be activated, and patient will be investigation, their review, their treatment will be fast-tracked. So there won't be any excuse for the fast positive patients about being under the pressure or being under the bad pressure or overloaded. They should be coming to hospital without any delay, and they will be seen on priority.
So let's look at the figures then. 2021, 28% of patients arrived within 4 hours of symptoms onset. So 2/3 potentially arrived outside that important 4.5 hour window. 40% of them were still thrombolized by the stroke and medical team, but the number of thrombosis could go way higher if the number of patients arriving within the time window increases. It's just imperative to get to that hospital as soon as you can if any of those symptoms or a combination of them present.
Absolutely. You can see that means amazing that even though very less, like 1/4 of the patient, just about 1/4 of the patient could arrive within 4 hours, but still we were able to thrombolize nearly half of them. Imagine that if this number goes up to 50% of the patient arriving within 4 hours of the onset of symptoms, and number of thrombolysis and the number that we can reduce the disability will go even more higher.
So, generally, the wider community, do we have a role in stroke treatment or awareness, or what would your words be in that regard, Doctor?
I always believe that stroke service can only run efficiently if community is also on the board. Means as a person as a community person, what I will see what is my responsibility, that I should be vigilant about, and I should be aware that what are the typical signs and symptoms of stroke. Like I mentioned before, that we should be aware that if somebody develops like weakness in arm or leg, numbness in the arm or leg, suddenly we feel that in our work atmosphere, one of our colleagues unable to talk properly, is slurring the words, is unable to see properly, has problems with the balance. We should immediately call for the help. We should immediately encourage them that they should seek medical attention immediately, or we should ourselves call 999.
Yeah, because they might be panicked, mightn't they? They might not be thinking clearly. They might be worried or panicked. Then we have to step in and say, hold on, I was listening to Dr. Memman, I beg your pardon. I know the story here. This could very likely be a stroke. I'm calling an ambulance for you. Yeah, exactly. We have to take the lead on it. Okay. In terms of in terms of stroke prevention, is it the obvious things? Improved diet, as much activity as we can, as possible, monitoring our blood pressure. What kind of advice do you have for us to try and avoid stroke?
I mean, maybe many people don't know that nearly 70 to 80% of the strokes are potentially preventable. Means we can prevent them from its even start just with a few simple steps, like controlling our risk factors, like keeping a check on the blood pressure, keeping a check on our blood sugars, listening to your primary care physician, to your GP about their advice, about their medications, being compliant to the medication, eating healthy diet, cut down the fast food, stopping the smoking, reducing the alcohol intake, and everyday walk and exercise. You don't necessarily to be joining the gym, and that's a good thing to join. But if every day if you do a brisk walk for 15 to 20 minutes, that also will reduce the chances of your stroke. So few simple steps. We have to give some personal time to ourselves. Majority of our people now getting more urbanization, that more office jobs, more sitting jobs. Yeah. So that's also a negative factor. We have to beat that by giving some personal time also in the evening after the work to walk around, to do more brisk work to our muscles so that we can dissolve the clot, so that we can reduce the prevention of the clot formation.
Also, it's worth, if we're at the GP and of a certain age, isn't it, to get them to listen to our heartbeat as well. I think particularly over 60s, over 65s. That's I'm not sure if that's necessarily in the area of stroke.
That it is very necessary, and I actually been in contact with many GPs, and it's pleasantly good thing that many of them are actually regularly checking that to look into the patient's heart rhythm. And if they see accidentally if the heart rhythm problem is there, they take necessary action.
Okay. A caller wants to know, I'm sorry to throw this on you, what causes an artery direction type stroke?
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
No, neither did I. An artery direction type stroke. Listen, it's okay. I won't. I'm not familiar with that terminology myself.
No, either. I will. Maybe I will just in general
Please.
Reply on that. That there are two major types of the stroke. One is that if the clot actually blocks the artery. One is that if the artery itself gets ruptured. So if the clot blocks artery, we call it ischemic type stroke or clot stroke, which develops infarct. And if the artery gets ruptured, we call it hemorrhagic stroke. Hemorrhagic stroke is less common than the clot developed stroke, which is like 85% and 15%, you can say. But hemorrhagic stroke, the one which is due to the rupture of the artery, is more carrying the more chances of disability and even death. So the treatment for both of them, of course, is different. In one, if it is due to the bleeding, they have a different track of the treatment, and that one which developed the clot is having different track of the treatment. If we could talk about that, I'm trying to get onto that question, but I'm just talking in general that there are if arteries in our brain, they supply in two directions. Mm-hmm. One is the front of the brain, one is in the back of the brain. But treatment for both of them is same. If the patient, we feel that coming with a stroke, regardless of their arterial system, we actually, if they are in the right time window, we thrombolize them.
Okay.
Yes, in certain arteries where we cannot reach, which are in the distant arteries, they may not have the option of thrombectomy, in which we, as I mentioned, that we're taking the clot out. But those are the other cases actually. But largely for thrombolysis, we don't differentiate between if it is in front circulation or the back circulation. If they are in the right time window, they have no any other contraindication, we go ahead with the medication.
Okay. Doctor, anything you want to add finally? Do you think it's important for our listeners to hear?
I think the major thing is that we have to play our part. I mean, healthcare staff and hospital staff and hospital management and stroke teams, they all are doing their best actually. GPs are also doing very well actually with us that they are improving the awareness. But as a community, I will see that I'm trying to make more voice on that in the community area, because our Donegal population is more like rural population. Many people don't get that voice, don't get that message. So I will say that I need everybody to spread the word wherever in the workplace, in the distant areas, if they are going for the delivery. Even I can say that telling to that person in the community in the rural side that you can seek a help for the stroke if you develop the stroke type symptoms. So I will be more on that thing. That means we need to spread the word. We need to spread the word that it's a highly treatable disease and it's a potentially preventable disease.
Doctor, it's been lovely speaking to you. Thank you so much for taking your time. And any time you feel that message needs to be reiterated, it's a very important one. Feel free to reach out and we'll definitely accommodate it and do our bit as well. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much.
Take care of yourself. That is Dr. Ashfaq Memon. Okay, we'll be back with more after the break.
Live free in 2023 with Dunloe GAA Club. Winner takes all. Prize includes €500 cash paid every week next year. Live free in 23.ie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
If something's free, why would you turn it down? I mean, a free haircut from a 5-year-old. Oh, no. Or a free sample of onion paste. Oh. Well then, how about a free tour of your neighbour's new shed? Oh, sounds, well... OK, look, they were bad examples. But how about a free eye test and free glasses from the €69 range at Specsavers with your PRSI? Well, that sounds like something to smile about.
Book an appointment or find out more at specsavers.ie.
The award-winning Genesis Aesthetics and Skincare Clinic Udor now offers a wide range of skin boosters. The injectable moisturiser for under eyes that improves dark circles, fine lines and wrinkles. Also treating the face, neck, chest and hands. This amazing treatment works from the inside out, resulting in brighter, smoother, plumper skin. For help choosing the right aesthetic treatment for you, contact Mary Ferry, your aesthetic practitioner. You can download the Genesis app or call 07495 32575.
It's where you live. It's where you relax. It's where you make memories. Treat your home to a visit to Cooney's Home Interiors. We have everything in store to help recreate your home. Choose from our extensive range of suites, tables, beds, mattresses and home furnishings for every room. Cooney's Home Interiors Letterkenny. Style and perfection at incredible value.
It's flu season, and children are twice as likely as adults to catch the flu, which can sometimes cause serious illness. That's why all children aged 2 to 17 can get their free nasal spray flu vaccine, a safe and effective way to protect them, and the rest of your family too. So make an appointment with your GP or pharmacist. Visit hsc.ie/flu for more information. From the HSC.
It's crunch time in the Premier Division for Finn Harps. This Friday they play UCD, knowing a win will take them out of the relegation place with one game to play. A defeat, however, will send Harps to the First Division. Join Dermot Doherty and Declan Boyle for full match commentary from this vital tie at Finn Park Ballabufey. Kick-off at 8 p.m. Finn Harps live on Highland in association with BNS Credit Union Ballabufey, who are here to help you through the winter months with loans from €500. Don't delay, get your loan today. Visit bnscu.ie or free phone 1800 290 390. BNS Credit Union Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Hi, my name is Julie. I have a disability and work in a busy cafe. I love meeting the customers, the buzz, the chats. It's a really great place to work.
So, if like me, you're a young person claiming disability allowance, you'll be invited to chat about the employment and training supports available to you. Taking part is your choice, but it could be a great opportunity. For more information, visit gov.ie/work supports disability. Brought to you by Intro, a Government of Ireland initiative. This is a genuine story voiced by an actor.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. John McGinley's a taxi driver in Letterkenny. And John, thanks for taking your time to speak to me this morning. Do you feel you're being thrown under the bus in this development, or what's your view?
Yes, Greg, we are being thrown under the bus big time now. We went down through this matter way back years ago when I was a Hackney in Letterkenny. And we had a meeting with the superintendent and the UDC council. And they told us at that time they would go forward to stay in the Market Square. We had to buy plates. And each plate cost us £5,000 each. And at the same time, I had to go and buy 3 plates to keep my workers and working. And today, we're back to square one again. They're moving us to the Market Square.
And just for people who aren't aware, you can explain maybe, John, there's a big difference between Hackney and taxi in terms of dependent on your licence, whether you can park in taxi ranks or not. And you're paying for that, in inverted commas, advantage. That's really why you ended up having to fork out this $5,000 per car.
That's right, Greg, yeah.
Yep.
That's the way we had to put 5,000 out towards each car at the time.
So,
and that was the guts. There got to nearly 180 plates sold in Letterkenny at the time.
Right.
And that's almost £1 million.
That's a lot of money, isn't it?
A lot of money, Greg, to be told today that they're going to move us away from the square again. But doesn't make sense. It's her place of work at the end of the day.
Can I ask from a business perspective, John, I'm not talking about your private business, I wouldn't dream of doing that, but just for us to get an idea, what's the difference between being able to park, say, for instance, on the Market Square or very close to it versus 100 metres down the road? In real terms, does that mean you get half the fares, a third of the fares? You could be sitting there for hours. No one knows you there. People maybe... So what does the location for a taxi driver mean in terms of how busy one could be?
The Market Square is the centre of town, and always was. There were taxis there for the last 50 years. My father was there before me, you know. And that's where people come for their taxis, is the Market Square. Greg.
I mean, again, I'm not taking sides in this, John. I thought naively that the taxis were seen as a very vital cog in the wheel of getting people into and out of that part of the town.
It's taking everybody into the centre of town. Taking everybody out of the town again. You know? And that's where the people comes to, is the square. Mr. Chippy is a taxi rank of Mr. Chippy, and that's mostly for buses, the bus area. You know?
Yeah. So dependent on...
No, I suppose...
Yeah, sorry, I was going to say, depending on the time or demand, you would need far more than 3 spaces on the Market Square itself, and even the 3 further down the street, that's still one short of what the council's own analysis said is needed. So,
Greg, they've actually gave us nothing through this whole thing. The 3 down the street was always down the street.
Yep.
The 3 of the Market Square was there, and they're doing away with actually 9 around the square on us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, at the end of the day, that's not on.
Yeah. So,
for what? Yeah. I think the Market Square is looking great the way it is. To run the trees down and wash it. But the money they're spending on the Market Square is a total joke. There's plenty of houses in Lower Main Street could do with this money to tidy the town up a bit.
Are you?
That's my.
I mean, are you prepared to also say, look, we're gonna lodge an appeal with An Bó Pleanála?
We'll go whatever road we have to go, and I'll be honest, if we don't win with Pleanála, we'll take legal action.
That's how strong you feel about it. Right,
and that's how strong I do feel about it. When your bullet wants to leave it, you're not going to leave it again.
And the feeling is that you all were asked to fork out €5,000 per vehicle effectively. You had to do it 3 times to have access to those parking spaces on the Market Square.
Yes, it was £5,000. It was pounds I forked out.
Wow, all right, okay.
That's how long I'm there. There's other ones coming in forked out euro later on. And plus, it's the centre of our town, and that's the way it is. It was always there for taxis, you know, and the planning doesn't make sense what they're doing, as far as I'm concerned.
All right, John, you've made your point really clearly. Thank you very much for that. That's John McGinley there, a taxi driver in Letterkenny, and we're going to be talking history very shortly.
Live free in 23 with Dunlow GAA Club. €500 cash paid weekly, a luxury holiday, hotel stays and more. Winner takes all. Live free in 23.ie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
Happy news from Aldi. We've topped the leaderboard at the National Parenting Product Awards with 22 wins, making us the most awarded retailer. There were golds for our organic Mamiya baby food range, Mamiya Ultra Dry Junior Plus nappies size 5+, and Mamiya Premium Newborn Mini size 2 nappies voted the nation's best nappies by parents in Ireland. So, Mum and Dad, not using Mamiya nappies yet? Whew, could be time for a change. Aldi, every day amazing.
Lancome has an exclusive beauty gift waiting for you at McGee's Chemist in Letterkenny. Simply purchase 2 Lancome products, one to be skincare, and get a free 8-piece gift containing a full-size comfort mousse, Absolute day and night travel size creams, plus more of your favourite iconic Lancome products. Available until Saturday the 12th of November or while stocks last. T's and C's apply at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny.
Energy management is a significant challenge facing industry. To help tourism businesses manage their energy usage and reduce costs, Fáilte Ireland is hosting a series of free, in-person workshops nationwide. Open to tourism and hospitality businesses, the Fáilte Ireland Energy Management Workshop is on Tuesday, November 1st at 6:30 p.m. in the Abbey Hotel, Donegal. Register for free for this event or any of the workshops nationwide at fáilteireland.ie today.
Keep your garden in shape all year round with top quality garden equipment from Garden Care at Gallina's Letterkenny Tool Hire. A great selection of leaf blowers, hedge cutters, chainsaws and much more for sale or hire. There's a full backup and repair service, including chains and bars for all makes of chainsaws. Gallina's Letterkenny Tool Hire at Mountain Top Letterkenny, your local Garden Care dealer. Garden Care, your pathway to a beautiful garden.
The Irish Coast Guard are looking for new watch officers in Malin Head, in Valentia and in Dublin. Watch officers coordinate life-saving missions. No one ever expects that they might suddenly need their help. The Coast Guard are looking for more watch officers so that more lives are saved. You can apply at publicjobs.ie.
All right, welcome back to the 9 till noon show. A caller says, if there are 54 taxis in Letterkenny, how come they aren't providing a late-night service at the weekends? People don't socialise in town because they can't get a taxi home. I don't know what the story is. I'm not from Letterkenny, but I know from other parts that I are more likely to socialise in, you would need 1,000 taxis at a certain time, and then there's probably, 100 too many at other times. At the end of the day, taxis on one run, it's out of commission for quite a bit of time, isn't it? So I'm not sure if it's the taxis are busy or there's not many of them. I don't know. We get some random inquiries here, and often when we put it out there, people help. And I want to help this person who wrote a letter, and I appreciate them sending it in. They're from Ramelton. And it's a simple one, but it's one you can help them with. We need to replace our gas cooker. Now, the space to accommodate the gas cooker is the 550 size. Now, they're finding it very difficult to find it. They ask me, could I read this out in your show, as some suppliers may have some in stock? So are you a supplier or someone in the know? A listener has a gap for a 550 style cooker, gas cooker. Can you help? It's 550 millimeters, I presume. So they need the same size to go into that space. Right, okay. Last Sunday, on the road between Lifford and Rosgier, a couple of jewellery boxes and other items fell from the boot of the car during a house move. If anyone picked them up, please call us. And we'll pass on a number. So if you found some stuff on the road between Lifford and Rosgier, people were moving home and they'd love to get it back. As you can imagine, with jewellery, there's a value there, but there's probably also an emotional value as well. So No drop-off at St. Eunan's College in the new road layout. Everyone has to just stop in the middle of the road for only 3 cars on the road for Scullmurra, gone small. That's not curbside for passengers. Disaster for schools. Letterkenny's a complete disaster. I tried to avoid it at all costs. I had to come into town as my mother was in hospital. The town's so poorly designed. I go to Derry for shopping, and so do many of my friends and relatives. I'm from outside Letterkenny, I don't really have any. The only time I have a bit of bother is if I accessing something on the main street. Generally speaking, I think the town's handy enough to get around. Maybe it depends on what time you're at, but the bigger a town you get, the more difficult it is going to be to get around. I don't really find it particularly difficult in Letterkenny, but everyone has their own experiences, and I think maybe the times I'm going there, maybe it's different. It's a disgrace that young man jailed for defending his property. There's simply no justice for law-abiding people in their own home. 3 weeks ago, my brother went into hospital. He has this history of 2 strokes. He was given anti-clotting medication in the ambulance and then had to wait for 3 hours. Now, I'm not sure what the right approach is, but that's that person's testimony there. All right, let's get Dr. Joe on after these.
Live free in 2023 with Dunlow GAA Club. Winner takes all. Prize includes €500 cash paid every week next year. Live free in 23.ie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
Call into the Glencar in Letterkenny where they offer live entertainment every weekend. They show all the live sports events on all their screens, including their huge 100-inch screen. Having a night in? Why not call in to their off-licence where they offer a large range of products at the keenest prices around. The Glencar Inn. Great picture, great sound, great crack.
Wetsuit on and underwater by air.
Aprons on, breakfast orders in, conversation flowing, loving every second.
Every day is different. There's always new faces. It really suits me.
It fits my schedule. I can see friends, do my yoga, balance work with life, and enjoy both.
My career in tourism works for me.
And mine works for me.
Get a career in tourism that works for you. Visit tourismcareers.ie. Brought to you by Fáilte Ireland.
To get that job done, call Gortley Sales and Hire in Letterkenny. Generators, portaloos and lighting towers. Also diggers, dumpers, rollers and much, much more. With short-term, long-term and weekend special rates available. Call Gortley Sales and Hire on 91 26 276.
It's the return of Derry Halloween. Over 4 fiendish days and nights, the walled city comes alive with ancient spirits welcoming you to join our awakening. From the 28th to the 31st of October, join us for an unforgettable adventure, if you dare. Visit derryhalloween.com, supported by Tourism NI and the Executive Office.
Let Joe McGee Butchers feed your family with their 5 for €20 deal. Choose from our fantastic deli range. Lasagnas, cottage pie, chicken curry and soups. Just a sample of our fine products all made in store only at Joe McGee Butchers, Letterkenny and Glencar shopping centres. Find us on Facebook and Instagram.
Swing into Christmas with the Rat Pack, live at the Griannan Theatre Letterkenny December 14th. Direct from London's Leicester Square, and for one night only, enjoy classics from Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin. Tickets from Anne Griannan Theatre box office and annegriannan.com. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
Join John Breslin for Around the Northwest at Homeland Letterkenny this Friday as they celebrate the launch of their €10 off when you collect 30 tokens from Donegal Creamery's milk. They have exclusive in-store offers and competitions on the day. That's Around the Northwest live from Homeland this Friday from 12 noon. For more, see €10 off at homeland.com.
Mid-season sale now on. Men's casual and footwear reduced. Sale now on. Evolve Clothing, Letterkenny Retail Park or evolveclothing.com.
Okay, time to talk history now with Dr. Joe Kelly. Caroline's left us 8 or 9 minutes, Joe. It's a disgrace, really. But anyway, we'll try and batter on. Our focus today is on Mad Dog Cole from Gweedore and the New York Mafia. Right, tell us about this character then.
Well, Vincent Cole, he came from Gweedore and born in 1909. He had a short life. He died in 1932. He was gunned down in 1932. But while he lived a short life, he lived a very maybe infamous life at the same time, rising to the ranks within the mafia. He was up there with the greatest mafia figures of the 30s. And at that time, one might know that the bootlegging was going on. Prohibition had been there. There was no alcohol. And so there was speakeasies, and he was very much involved in that whole thing. But he grew up in Gweedore, born in America, in Gweedore, sorry, but went then back to America with his parents. Parents left America to come back to Ireland and then returned again. And things took a bad turn when he went back to America. He was only about 9 months when he went back to America with his mum and dad. The father left them. The mother died of TB. He lost his baby sister, and 2 of his brothers died from TB as well. So he was left very much himself and his closest brother, Peter, who was just a year older than him, 8. He was 7 and Peter was 8. They were left to basically the world, and unfortunately, because of maybe lack of direction and one thing another, they ended up on the wrong side of the law, more hardened young men involved in a lot of petty crimes, and they were put into, their uncle actually put them into an institution, a Catholic kind of orphanage. And even there, they caused terrible, terrible trouble. And their Aunt Mary Field then took them. She was in New York. But eventually, she had to go back to the courts, the Bronx court, saying, look, I can't control these lads.
So what age would they have been at this point then, Joe?
Well, they would have been young. They would have been teenage years. Yeah. Again, they were with their aunt for a number of months, not years. And basically, he was in and out of jail after that. He was growing up in the Bronx. He'd known the tough side of society. He knew the underbelly of crime and petty crime, and whatever he could find a way of making a few pound, he was going to do it. And he was rather brutal.
Do you think he was primed for the mafia to get their claws into him, or was he so angry with everything that he maybe sought out this lifestyle himself?
Well, that's we're living in a different age now, and it's very easy to judge in our own age. The saying is better to build strong children than fix broken men. And unfortunately, this Vincent and his brother and others at that time, they had a very, very hard upbringing in life, and maybe it was easier for them to turn to the wrong rather than the right, and maybe the direction wasn't there. But he obviously had some kind of temperament and personality that seemed to take a satisfaction out of wrongdoing, and he was rather brutal in the way violent in the way he dealt with people, anybody that was threatening to him. Maybe it was a survival mechanism for him. But when he was put into jail anyway a number of times, and when he was released in 1929, now remember he's born in 1908, so he was still a young man, age 21. 2 people came into his life. The first was Dutch Schultz, who was a head man for bootlegging, and he had a lot of different breweries making the alcohol and then supplying it to different pubs. So he employed Vincent Call to work for him, to encourage other pubs to take his product, to buy his product. And if they didn't, then Vincent Call would brutalise them and attack them and threaten them. In fact, he killed one man at that time, but he got off because Dutch Schultz was able to pay the judges and the law at the time to kind of turn a blind eye to it. And at the same time, he met this woman called Lottie Denninger, who he later married, and she was very, very influential. A very interesting story even just about her herself. And she was encouraging him to get on in this world of the mafia and to get on in the world of the bootlegging. And when he asked for more money from his partner, Dutch Schultz, who was paying him £150 a week at that time, or dollars a week, which was quite a lot of money, he wanted more and he wanted more, and he felt that he should have his own setup. So he eventually did set up his own gang, and his aim was to get rid of Dutch Schultz, who had actually been paying him all this time. And his later wife, Lottie, she supposedly gave him $20,000 to roll him, to start him out. And she had got that from a husband that died in peculiar circumstances. She'd taken out a life insurance on him 6 months before he died.
She's not going to sue you. He died in peculiar circumstances after his wife took out a life insurance policy. Yeah. Okay, if you're afraid maybe her ancestors might take you up on something. But come here. But was it enough? Was the even a successful bootlegging company, and with the money they're able to leverage out of other businesses and all, was that enough for him, or did he get hungry for more?
Oh, absolutely. And the money he was making was just phenomenal. It's unbelievable in relative terms. You're talking tens of thousands of pounds. And you ask a good question, but the bootlegging enough? No, he was rather cute and mercenary what he did. He realised that there was other ways of making money. So he started to kidnap people on the underworld who would pay him a ransom, but they couldn't report this to the police because they were on the police list. And he started doing kidnapping people. I just take, for example, there was one fella, business legend, Ruby Valley, for £100,000. He wanted a ransom. Someone else, Sherman Bingsley, owner of a club, a Night Star Club, and also a famous restaurant in New York, paid him 25,000. There was Billy Warren, a banker. He kidnapped him, and he was given a ransom of 83,000.
But with every move he was taking, Joe, the target was getting bigger on his back. He was messing with all the wrong people.
Yes, and he had got into a terrible war with his former employer, Dutch Schultz, who was the bootlegger main man in that part of America, in New York that he was in. And he was getting tired of Vincent Call's attitude and his behaviour. And in one case, Vincent Call tried to kill his top man, Dutch's top man, and it backfired on him. And what he ended up doing was there was a shootout. And what happened was there was 4 boys injured and a young 5-year-old was shot dead. And this basically turned the whole media and the whole mafia against Mad Dog Call, because he was seen as a danger and a man that was bringing the mafia into disrepute.
And in some way, there was, because a lot of the way the mafia and the cartels work, and even to this day in Mexico and elsewhere, as you endear yourself to the population, you're seen as sort of Robin Hood type characters, don't you? I presume that was the case there. He was challenging their set of principles in inverted commas, because obviously they were ruthless.
Yeah, he was, and the fact that he'd killed he was in the shootout that killed a young 5-year-old. He was seen then as the Mad Dog. That's what the mayor of New York called him, and media called him a child killer, and so he had to go into hiding after that, and they realised that he was a problem. But so his time was coming to an end, and again, as I said, he was a very, very young man. He was in 28 when he was shot in the end, but he had crossed over. One of the things that he would do is he was a hitman. He would take money to kill people, and there was one man that that wanted the boss of bosses. Marazona, I think was his name, it's an Italian, and he wanted this opposition man, Luciano, killed for 50,000, and he gave Call 25,000 down payment. So Call arrives to kill this man, but the man that had paid him, Luciano's people knew that this was going to happen, and they killed him in advance. So Call walked away clean with 25,000. Wow. The man that had contracted him to kill the other man, well, he was now dead. But he was seen by the gang that had executed Marciano. They seen that, and he was a marked man after that. They wanted to get him. They knew that he was a contract killer that tried to kill their boss. And so the Irish head man at the time was Madden, and he put out a 50,000 reward on Call's head. And that 50,000 was like, he was a marked man after that. So every gangster that wanted to make money, there was a 50,000 bonus if you could find Call. And there was a shootout on one occasion. They thought he was there in an apartment. They shot it, and I think there was a number of people killed, but they got it wrong. He wasn't actually at that place at all. That was in February 1932, and they had killed a number. I think it was 3 people who were killed, but Call wasn't among that. But that was on the 1st of February 1932. But on the 7th of February, a few days later, almost a week later, they knew where he was, and he was going into a drugstore, and he was making a threatening call. He was cute to use the phone. He moved around from place to place and made calls so he couldn't be traced. And he was phoning this man Madden, who was an Irish warlord, a mafia warlord, well respected within the criminal ends. And he had put out the 50,000 on him. He was threatening him, and he was in on the phone booth in a chemist. He was cute to go in the back of the shop to go and make a phone call, but his assassins had been following him. They were sitting out in the car. They saw him going in. They walked into the chemist. They told the people there, look, keep cool. And they went in and just basically riddled him to death while he was making the phone call in the booth. And he died there. There were 15 bullets in his body when they did the autopsy, and there were more that just would have gone through his body as well.
In his adult life, did he ever come back to Ecuador, or was he buried at home or buried in America?
He was well. That's a good question. So he was only 23 when he died. Sorry, I said 28. It was 23 when he died, and he hadn't known. But there were meetings of Donegal people in New York, and he was shunned there. People didn't like him for they knew what he was doing. And his brother Peter was killed sometime before in a shoot down as well. A shootout. He was killed. So they had known that there was a side to him that they didn't like. But you ask the question then at his burial. He was a Catholic. And he wanted to be, obviously his sister Florence wanted him to be buried, but the pastor, the priest of St. Raymond's Parish in New York where he lived said, no, you're not going to have a burial mass or a priest at your graveside either. praying over your grave. So he was allowed to be buried in the graveyard. They reckoned that he'd gone to confessions, by the way, sometime before he was shot, and for that they would allow him to be buried. So he was buried in the graveyard, and his gravestone's still there, buried where his brother had previously been buried, and subsequently his sister. So he was buried in a very quiet, unreligious Catholic burial, and that was the end of Mad Dog Call. There's a film done about it in 1961, and Brenton DeLapp has written an excellent book on that, Mad Dog Call, an Irish Gangster, in 1999. He would have been the editor of Funches.
Telly Savalas played Mad Dog Call, didn't he? I mean, did he sort of master the New York Gwyddor accent?
Yeah, well, he was involved in the film. There was a number of people in the Gene Hackman was a policeman. I think Telly Savalas, Kojak, he was just.
Oh, did he not play? All right, who played Mad Dog Call? I
think it was John Chandler.
Ah, okay, right.
But Telly Savalas, and I love him because The Dirty Dozen and My Own Name, Kelly's Heroes. Great film. But you're looking, we're giving our age away when we're talking about.
Listen,
that.
I love him so much. I've styled my hair on him.
And have you a lollipop?
Well, that's for me to know and you to find out. It's okay, Dr. Joe. Listen, that's where we have to leave it. I wish we had more time. I wish we had more time. But thank you so much. And me and you have recorded a special podcast too, which will be broadcast at a later date, an extended podcast focusing on the beautiful town of Creasler, and that's already in the bag, and we'll be putting that out, as I say, at a later date, Joe. But
just to say to you, Greg, and I haven't been on since I was on with Father John Joe and TD Marion Harkin when we were doing a review of the paper, and just to acknowledge Highland, you got the mood of the people there with the Creasler tragedy. You were absolutely brilliant in Highland, and people maybe are often critical of our local radios. Whatever Creasler way comes out of this tragedy, it'll be family and faith that'll bring them, and Highland's part of that family. And just to congratulate you on capturing that mood, the fact that you had broadcast the mass and the music, and all of you that were in there in Highland, thank you very much. Even yourself, the hard interview that you had to do with Leonie Harper's parents, to be commended and be congratulated, and thank you very much for all that you do in there in Highland. You really are part of our families in the wider sense of Donegal. Thank you.
Lovely remarks, Joe. I appreciate that. Take care of yourself. Dr. Joe Kelly there. And that was our latest episode of Talking History. Right, okay, it's 11:01. Let's get a news update. Welcome back onto the show now, Donald Kavanagh. Good morning, Donald.
Thank you, Greg. A very good morning. Donegal County Council's fire service is urging people in the Drumanore area of Buncrana to keep their doors and windows closed for the moment. It follows a fire, and the fire service says it wants people to keep their doors closed until the plume of smoke dies down. It is of, they say, some concern. The Mayor of Letterkenny Milford Municipal District says the process of reinvigorating the Market Square in Letterkenny could have been delayed if agreement hadn't been reached this week on taxi spaces. The original proposal saw all taxi spaces moved away from Market Square and Market Centre and moved down the main street. Following a public consultation, that's been amended to retain the taxi rank outside the Market Centre. However, taxi drivers say they're not happy with the new arrangements, and on the 9 till noon show today, a representative told Greg that they will challenge this through An Bord Pleanála, and if that fails, they will consider legal action. The Stormont Assembly is being recalled today in a last-ditch bid to secure a Speaker and First and Deputy First Ministers. If that can't be achieved, then the Northern Ireland Secretary Chris Heaton-Harris is expected to call a pre-Christmas election tomorrow, December 15th, believed to be the most likely date. Meanwhile, Senator George Mitchell will this afternoon address the Oireachtas Committee on the implementation of the Good Friday Agreement. He will do so via video link. €10.4 million has been allocated to Donegal under the Leader programme over the next 5 years. It's the second highest allocation in the country after Cork. The money is used to support rural communities and enterprises. Agriculture and Marine Minister Charlie McConalogue is urging interested groups to apply for funding. The future of the Helping Hands project at the Family Resource Centre in Rafo is in question after a break-in at its base at the weekend. Around €2,500 worth of equipment used in the maintenance of homes and gardens was taken. It includes 2 lawnmowers, 2 hedge cutters, 2 trimmers, 2 blowers and a power washer. The service closed on Friday afternoon. When staff and volunteers returned on Monday morning, they noticed the break-in had happened. And the Taoiseach says it's likely the tourism sector will struggle next year. Leo Varadkar was responding to questions about what the future holds for hotels who are currently housing 39,000 refugees nationally. Increased airfares and the cost of living crisis were also listed as reasons why the industry is expected to face difficulties. Leo Varadkar says he expects next spring and summer to be hard. And we're back with news again at 12 noon.
Donald, thank you very much indeed. Back after the break.
Total ban on sprays proposed. For more in this week's Farmers' Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Crop and rush sprays in the firing line under EU plans. Future land designations not ruled out by Minister. Farmer fallout from Food Vision Dairy Group report, which recommends a dairy cow exit scheme. Turkish buyers driving the weaning trade, and farmers have 2 months to dezone from land tax.
Plus, find out how you can reduce your feed costs this winter. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers' Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Easy Living Furniture's Oktoberfest sale ends this Sunday. Absolutely everything reduced with up to 60% off sofas, dining, bedroom and mattresses that are in stock and ready for delivery. With 0% interest-free finance available for up to 2 years and with no deposit, the decision is easy. Oktoberfest sale ends Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Inflation busting sale now on at Florid Letterkenny. There's 12mm AC5 European laminate starting from €16.95 a square yard. 8mm AC4 European laminate starting from €11.99 a square yard. And engineered plant oak flooring from only €47.99 a square yard. But hurry, only while stocks last at Florid, Cullion Road, Letterkenny.
Hello, Hill 16 Insurance. How can I help you? Up the dubs.
Hi. I am looking for a home insurance quote.
Righto, and what part of Dublin do you live in?
I don't actually live in Dublin.
Right. Do you lease a part of dubs?
What? I'm just looking for home insurance.
Well, you're going to have to keep looking, pal, because Hill 16 is Dublin only.
Do you get the feeling that your insurer doesn't want you? Well, at Local Insurance, we are Irish owned and understand your needs. Call us today for a bespoke quote on 0818 894 444. Local Insurance, we'll get you sorted. The Local Insurance Network, DAC Trading's Local Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Local Insurance is a tied insurance intermediary of Acorn Brokerage Limited. Acorn Brokerage Limited, trading as Acorn Insurance, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Looking for jobs isn't much fun, is it? If you want to be free of trawling through advertisements, apply now for Assistant Staff Officer with the Health Service for a career in making a difference to our lives. Apply once for opportunities countrywide and let the HSC look after you. It's what we do best. Visit hsc.ie and search for Assistant Staff Officer today. From the HSC.
Highland Radio weather updates brought to you by Grant. From condensing boilers to heat pumps and underfloor heating, trust Grant to heat your home. Visit grant.eu.
All right, you're very welcome back to the 9 till noon show. Let's have a look at that weather forecast now, just opening it up here. And I can tell you that outbreaks of rain this morning will break up in the afternoon. It'll be drier for a time with some sunshine. A spell of heavy rain will arrive on the west coast by evening. Mild for the time of year. Temperatures in the mid-teens. Moderate southerly winds will increase fresh to strong and gusty later. We're joined now on the programme by Deputy Michael Healy-Ray. Good morning to you, Deputy. Thanks for the call. Thanks
Greg,
for taking the call, I should say.
And your listeners, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Right, you are not happy with the doubling of fines for motoring offences. Why are you so opposed to this? It's one of the tools, really, to try and influence driver behaviour, I suppose.
Well, it's not really, because, to be honest with you, it's what I would actually go so far as calling a scam. Now, the first thing that I would have to say anytime we have a debate like this or a talk like this, we have to recognise when we talk about deaths on the roads and accidents on our roads, that the people that we're talking about, they're not statistics, they're not numbers, they're people, they're families, they're dads, they're moms, they're sisters, they're brothers, aunties, uncles, who very sadly die on our roads. And we have to recognise that and acknowledge it and be respectful of it.
And with that in mind, Deputy, might I ask you, in forming your opinion, have you spoken to many of the families and friends of victims of road traffic collisions to ask what their views might be on this?
Of course I do, because I deal with bereaved families on a very, very regular basis. As a result of car accidents and also other types of accidents and injuries that occur to people, and I would be assisting them with the various different difficulties and problems and issues that they would have. But if I can finish making the point, Greg, right? when we talk about accidents and what the government have been doing, and if we take, for instance, former Minister Shane Ross's crusade against young drivers and what he did, when he brought in his legislation, what has happened since is deaths on our roads have very sadly gone up. So despite the increase in the penalty points, despite the increase in the fines, despite the greater amount of offences that attract penalty points than what was there before, it's not working. It's not stopping people from dying on our roads. And what we all want is to see people to stop dying on our roads.
Okay.
So it's obvious that they're going about it the wrong way.
Well,
now,
can I put 2 points
to
to you, Deputy? Can I put 2 points to you? And my mind's not made up in here. I'm not being argumentative, but I have a 19-year-old taking the first steps out onto the roads shortly, hopefully. Do you not think he or any other 19-year-old, especially with the cost it takes to get a car on the road, might be more inclined to put on their seatbelt or not use the phone when driving if they were going to be hit with a €160 fine compared to an €80 fine? So let's take me and you out of it now at this stage. You know, we've had our turn really to some extent. But do you not think, like, as someone getting onto the road, that this sends a strong message that this is serious, and that if you are caught with the phone up to your ear or in your hand, you're gonna be hit with a €160 fine? Are you telling me in your heart of hearts you do not believe that might influence the way an 18, 19, 20-year-old driver might behave on the road? You don't think that has any effect at all?
No. What
Right,
I would
okay.
say to you, what I would rather see happening to that 19-year-old boy or girl, and these are the suggestions that I have, which the government are paying no heed whatsoever to. For instance, driving is such an essential part of life, right? And it's something that every young person, please God, they will be getting their turn. They'll have to go on the road. They'll be going to work. They'll be going to
There's never been a better time to go full lead.
Sorry, go ahead, Deputy. We had a slight interruption there. Go on, you were saying?
They'll be living, right? So what I think should happen in all of our schools is that the subject of driver safety, driving a car, what that means, the responsibility of it, being courteous on our roads, all of that should actually be on the curriculum in a school. That is my honest belief, because it's such an essential part of life. For example, we take no notice in schools that some of the items that are on the curriculum, say if you were going to a vocational school before, you could have woodwork, you could have practical metal work, you could have home economics. It's all these basic essentials of life that were seen as a grounding and something that was essential. Well, I would think that learning about the roads, the rules of the road, and all of that, that would be a basic. Now, that's one
for
thing.
sure. I mean, listen,
But then
listen, I don't disagree with you. I think maybe even the theory test should actually be part of the school curriculum. But I just want to ask you this, Michael. I mean, if you were then the Minister for Transport, what do you think speeding fines, the non-wearing of seatbelts, the use of mobile phones, all which have been proven to contribute, you know yourself, and I'm sure you're not disputing the Garda statistics, they will tell you how many people who die on the roads were not wearing a seatbelt, how many died on the roads whilst using a mobile phone. You know, the statistics aren't there. This isn't a conspiracy theory or figures that are pulled out of the sky. So, in your view, considering these things contribute to fatalities on the road, what do you think an acceptable level of fine would be then?
But you see, Greg, the whole issue of the fines and the penalty points have been proven to be a failure because the deaths are increasing. Like, since Shane Ross did what he did, and when he brought in his legislation, it has been proven since to have failed. It's not succeeding. And like, there are very other important issues that they're ignoring. And I'll give you the examples. And they're less what I would call, in other words, ministers for the environment don't seem to want to take any notice of this. But I do, because these are the real things that make a difference to people. For example, the cutting of the hedges on our country roads. They're not being cut or maintained by our local authorities. It should be as part of general road maintenance. That would give us greater sight distance on our roads. It would mean that people wouldn't be out around the middle of the white line on the road, right? And what it would mean is that people would be safer. For instance, before, what we call a section man. that was a person who was in charge of a certain amount of roads, miles of roads in their area, right? Now, that person's job was to keep the dikes open, keep the water off our roads. That's not happening anymore. So we have this thing called ponding on our roads. Then you could be driving along after a heavy shower of rain or water coming out onto the road. The roads are like a drain in many instances. The car aquaplanes or hits the splash of water. The car loses control, goes out in front of another car, causes an accident. There's nobody looking at all those sorts of things. All they're doing is this simplistic view. Well, we'll target the driver's pocket, and hopefully then, what you said a minute ago, we'll frighten them into this. Well, it's not working.
Okay,
and
just in the interests of because obviously on this programme, the facts are very important to me. Other than two peaks in over 2013 and 2014 and 2016, there has been a consistent decrease in the amount of lives lost on Irish roads. Just as a matter of fact, if you don't mind, Deputy, me pointing that out.
Well, I suppose, that's fine to say that, but what I would like to...
Well, it's not. It's the facts, you see. That's the only thing. It's the facts.
Right, well, okay, can I state another fact, so?
Please.
Right? And that is that when Minister Ross went on his crusade, he brought in his legislation at the end of 2019. The following year, road deaths increased. That is a fact. And then after that, subsequently, they increased again. That is a fact. I don't say things without there being facts at all. And the facts are that the road the government
in 2019, the amount of people that died on our roads was. Did you say when he introduced them in 2019?
What I said was at the end of 2019, his legislation came in. The following year, the road deaths increased on our roads.
Yeah, but you're talking about a very small period of time.
Case.
Right. Okay.
And can I just make one other point?
Please do. Go ahead.
It's the final point I'll make then. I would be delighted if what the government was doing was working. And my goodness, if it saved one child, if it saved one mom or one dad, wouldn't I be delighted? But the point is that I would like to see them expanding what they're doing.
Okay, but
Michael,
just let me ask you one question though. You see, the Gardaí, right, have the statistics as it relates to the wearing of seatbelts and the amount of lives that are lost because people weren't wearing seatbelts.
Yes.
They also have the information as it relates to how many lives were lost and many ruined through injury through the non-wearing of seatbelts and mobile phone use. You know, I get what you're talking about. There's a number of factors that cause road traffic collisions. A, the driver. B, the car, and C, very importantly, and I don't think it's talked about enough, which you've mentioned, the road condition. And I think much more focus should be placed on that. But the fines are to discourage what we know costs lives, Deputy Healy-Rae. That's the thing that I find myself leaning towards saying, well, if it's saving lives, then it should be, then it's worthwhile.
But of course, you're right. But the point is that what they're doing and what they're concentrating on isn't working. So what I'm asking is the other issues. And for instance, where I'm from, County Kerry, deer roaming out on our roads is causing an awful lot of accidents, causing an awful lot of deaths, causing an awful lot of injuries, and that fact is being completely ignored by government. So could I just ask that they would take a more open and broad-minded view of this rather than the monetary side of it? Well, we hope that if we charge them enough when they're caught doing something wrong. I mean, I don't want to see anybody driving a car without wearing a safety belt. I don't want to see one person, young, old, or middle-aged, get into a car without putting on their safety belt. And could I just say, because of a recent thing I just happened to know about, could I please remind people today that putting on your safety belt in the front of the car and the passengers in the back not putting on theirs is absolutely a crazy action, because they can really injure the people in the front, or they can be thrown from the car. Like, just because you're in the back of the car, you have to wear your safety belt in the back of the car as well. But getting the message across that way, rather than telling people, oh, we're going to double the fines, oh, we're going to increase the penalty fines.
Yes, but you see,
like,
the thing is though, but the thing is, and I won't delay you much longer. If you don't speed, if you wear your seatbelt, and if you don't use your phone when driving, it doesn't matter if they set the fines at €1 billion. it's not going to affect you. This is only going to affect the people that you're encouraging to put the seatbelts on, to slow down a little bit, to not use the phone. You are right. If you and me if we always wear our seatbelts, if we don't speed, and if we don't use our phone, me and you will never have to pay those fines.
But Greg, you're 100% right. But could we finish on this note? That's if you're a perfect person.
None of us are perfect. Of course, we're not perfect.
Yeah, and I know I'm not perfect. So I know that other people aren't perfect either. It'd be great if we all were.
Yeah, but if I head out the road this evening, and I decide that I want to get home for me tea, and I go 120 in a €100 zone, I think I've got the fine coming to me, whatever it's set up, because I know the facts.
I know,
and I'm not saying but anyway.
I'm not arguing against you, but we all want is for people not to die on our roads.
You see, the thing is, very finally, Deputy, is, you see, I think what you're saying will be popular. It'll play to an audience, right? But you know in your heart of hearts that we really need to be doing everything, because you've said it yourself, to try and keep people alive and uninjured on our roads. And I just don't really see why you're not focusing your attention on the fantastic ideas you've got in terms of road maintenance and education, rather than scoring political points off Senator Shane Ross over fines that we can avoid. And I say that with absolute respect to you, by the way.
Yes, but sure, Greg, haven't you have to undermine your own argument there by using one word? You said we should be doing everything. Sure, we're not. All we're doing is going after people in a monetary way. Sure, we're not educating the drivers. We're not maintaining our roads properly. We're not cutting the hedges. We're not keeping the water off the roads. We're not increasing sight distance. So we're not doing everything.
Okay.
And that's all I'm saying.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
No,
and
I
could I
appreciate
just
it.
say one thing, Greg?
Please.
Could I just say one thing to Greg finally? If having this little discussion and if having this debate, and to be blunt about it, I don't care whether people think I'm right or wrong. That's totally immaterial. But if by you and me having this argument or debate or whatever you want to call it, if it creates one little bit of awareness, and if it makes some person think, oh, I'm getting in the back of the car, they're talking about fines, they're talking about this, I better put on my safety belt. And if in some way you or me having a debate, and the people that say that I'm right, that's fine. The people that say that I'm wrong, that's fine. But if by us talking, it helps our roads being the slightest bit safer, isn't that a great thing?
Yeah, of course. And listen, I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just a strange hill to die on. Not that you will, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But thanks for your time this morning. I appreciate it greatly. Take care of yourself. I want a quick word with Siobhan too. Siobhan, do you agree, disagree with the deputy? He's gone there now, but just what's your view?
Well, to be honest, I do agree with a lot of the points that he's made. Fines increasing will cause people to think about what they're doing a little bit more, but they're not the only thing that we need to be doing. I live on the Ramelton to Milford Road, and it's a 50-kilometre zone apparently. And the guards actually in the Milford station know me quite well, and because I ring frequently to note the speeding that's on that road. And one of the sergeants has actually stood out, and they've patrolled it, but they can't get people. Or in one instance, somebody was driving that fast that they nearly ran into the guards. They were driving that fast in that road. The guards are stretched. They're doing the best that they can with the limited resources, that they have. So I don't the guards can't be outside my house every day. You know what I mean?
So you're saying you'd have very little sympathy for people who were clocking 70 or 80 past your house. You'd have very little sympathy for them if they were fined €160 plus penalty points each time.
I would be it on their own heads. If you want to come in past my house at 50 kilometre or at 100 kilometre an hour and the guards catch you and you get fined, it's your own fault. I try to drive out my house, my driveway, and the people that are in the estate with me. And every day we risk our lives driving onto that road. My sister-in-law lives in the back of the estate, and she has nearly been driven into. I've nearly been driven into. My husband, we've got a little girl. The amount of times that people have swerved across the road to avoid smashing into us, or beat to us, to say that we're the bad ones trying to exit our driveways. People like I said, it's like So I don't disagree with the fines, but but there needs to be something else.
Is there adequate signage there, do you think, Siobhan? I'd be kind of familiar with that road, and I just wonder, could there be more signage to point out the fact that it's a 50-kilometre zone?
Well, there's big massive signs, but like Deputy Healy said, whenever the hedges grow, they do take over part of it. But it's all year round. It doesn't make a difference, those signs. What would make a difference is if we, because apparently the Road Safety Authority were out here one day and they had said that it was extremely dangerous, that children be crossing that road, to go back and forth from school, that we need a footpath, that we need an island, that we should have maybe more signage. I think one of those, I know on the way to Redcastle, there's one of them signs that tell you your speed that you're doing and that you need to slow down if you're going over. I think one of them may help, but
yeah, they're very effective because they flash, slow down, and then say thank you when you do. I think. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It becomes like a game. You're like, oh, right, I need to slow down a bit. That it's reflecting, because some people, and it can be just mindlessly. I don't think a lot of people mean to be speeding, but because we just run our own. But I think I don't disagree with the fine. You shouldn't be doing it. If you get caught, then that's just it's just bad luck. But at the same time, you shouldn't have been doing it in the same.
Yeah, but you see, that's what I was trying to say. Is some people might make a decision, but they are making a decision. Everyone knows what the crack is. If you go over 100, sure, that's why we all flash each other. I tend not to because I'm in a company car, but it's because you could be going over the speed limit. There's a couple of flashes because there's a checkpoint up or a van up the road, so we all know. So I don't know where the surprise is. All right, listen, Siobhan, thanks for your time this morning. I hope you get sorted, because it's a stress every day having to deal with it, waiting for something to happen, and I think that's what your life is like. So we appreciate you sharing that with us. Thank you very much, Siobhan. Okay, back with more shortly.
Live free in 2023 with Dunloe GAA Club. Winner takes all. Prize includes €500 cash paid every week next year. Live free in 23.ie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
Are your Christmas orders already flying in? On Post Commerce has some seasonal supports to help your business scale up with smart savings on Advantage Card. Get €4 off every express parcel that you send, and save on stamps to send greetings to your customers. It's one card you'll really need this Christmas. So register free today at your post office or on post.com/AdvantageCard. On Post Commerce, a world closer. T's and C's apply. Offer ends December 31st.
McDade's Bathroom, Plumbing and Tiles, serving the Northwest for over 40 years. Explore our showroom with more than 40 displays. Choose from an array of shower doors, shower trays, baths and bathroom accessories. Speak with an expert about tile selection and wall paneling. We also stock an array of plumbing, heating and stove spare parts, as well as a great selection of kitchen mixers and radiators at our trade counter. Our stove department is also available for you to choose a style that suits your needs and complements your home. McDade's Bathroom, Plumbing, Tiles, Buncrana. We're here for you.
Easy Living Furniture's Oktoberfest sale ends this Sunday. Absolutely everything reduced with up to 60% off sofas, dining, bedroom and mattresses that are in stock and ready for delivery. With 0% interest-free finance available for up to 2 years and with no deposit, the decision is easy. Oktoberfest sale ends Sunday at Easy Living Furniture, Crescent Link Retail Park.
Get ready for spooky season at Century Complex. This Halloween, we have a great selection of movies at Century Cinemas, delicious food and cocktails in backstage, and Century Play's Halloween Fun Day takes place on the 31st of October from 12 to 2 p.m. Get in touch on 074 9121976 or visit centurycinemas.ie for more information.
Treat your family or friends to a hamper this Christmas from Kelly Centra, Letterkenny. Kelly's have great hampers to suit all budgets, including luxury hampers available to collect or deliver. Also vouchers for Kelly's award-winning diner or Circle K fuel at the forecourt. Great gift ideas at Kelly Centra, Mountaintop, Letterkenny. Call 91 22026.
Swing into Christmas with the Rat Pack, live at the Griannan Theatre, Letterkenny, December 14th. Direct from London's Leicester Square, and for one night only, enjoy classics from Frank Sinatra, Sammy Davis Jr. and Dean Martin. Tickets from Anne Griannan Theatre box office and angriannan.com. Presented by Joe Gallagher Entertainments.
It's time to unlock electric during Volvo Test Drive Week, November 1st to 5th. We welcome you to McKinley Motors to experience our award-winning range of plug-in hybrid and fully electric cars. Place an order during Test Drive Week and you'll receive a complimentary Volvo service agreement, which covers your first 3 services. Unlock electric and find out more about our exclusive offers at volvocars.ie. Terms and conditions apply.
All right, let's get some news now on a fire in Ishone and some advice for local residents. Acting Chief Fire Officer with the Donegal County Council is Michael Scott. Michael, thanks for your time this morning. Good morning.
No problem, Greg. Thank you very much for giving us the time just to get the message out there.
Right, if you don't mind, just as much as we know, when did this fire start and where?
The fire started last night, Greg, at approximately 12:30. It's located in Drummonore, outside Buncrana. It would be a recycling plant that caught fire. At that time, we would have mobilised out approximately 4 appliances and a number of specialist units as well, to an incident command unit, as well as a high-reach platform. And we would currently have a number of excavators on the site at the moment as well, to a specialist grabs, Greg.
Yeah. Now, presumably, given what might be in a recycle yard, then this is not. This is a fire that could give off quite damaging fumes. Is that why you're advising residents in the local area to keep their doors and windows shut?
Well, Greg, it seems to be all type of general waste, if you know what I mean.
Right.
It doesn't seem to be anything too serious in it, but at the same time, we just want to be safe, and we just want to advise anybody in the area, any of the residents, just if they could keep their doors closed and their windows closed, just in case there would be any adverse effects. But we don't think there's anything too serious in it, more general waste.
Yeah, just people maybe with respiratory issues or something, this could agitate that. From an operational perspective, Michael, how long do you think it will take to sort of have the site cleared from your perspective?
I would say it's going to be later on this evening, midday to later on, Greg, to be honest. We're going quite well here at the moment, but it probably is going to take the guts of another 3 to 4 hours for us to demobilise here from the site.
All right, well, stay safe, you and your teams, and thanks very much for the update, Michael.
Thank you very much, Greg,
All right.
and thanks for the opportunity.
No, it's very important to get that information out. So it's a fire at the recycling centre in the Drummonore area of Buncrana. Local residents asked to keep your windows and doors closed as a precaution, and our fire service is tackling that issue, and we'll hope to have it all done and dusted come evening time.
Live free in 23 with Dunloe GAA Club. €500 cash paid weekly, a luxury holiday, hotel stays and more. Winner takes all. Live free in 23.ie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
For great nights in, choose Centra and choose great big savings while you're at it. Choose 1 Chicago Town selected takeaway pizza, 1 McCain naked oven chips 750 gram, and 1 selected Ben & Jerry's ice cream, all 3 for €9. Whether it's a big game, movie or box set, enjoy great nights in with Centra. Centra, live every day.
Is your current car ready for a change? If so, now is a good time to visit DMG Motors Donegal Town, as we have a great selection of quality approved Skoda and Seat used cars which are serviced, cleaned and ready to go. With finance available and cars to suit all budgets, let us help you upgrade your car today. For more information, call DMG Motors on 074 97 21 396 or view our current used stock on dmgmotors.ie.
Has your accountant advised you to make a pension contribution to save tax? As award-winning brokers, John F. Lowery Financial Services can guide you through the process of setting up your first pension or review your existing pension contracts to make sure you are still getting good value for money. At John F. Lowery Financial Services, our business is your financial peace of mind. To arrange a personal consultation with one of our qualified financial advisors, visit jfl.ie or call 9124 002. John F. Lowery and Associates Limited, trading as John F. Lowery Financial Services, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Tá Garda Costa na Héireann sa tóid Refugee fáide nua I gceann-mhalana a Nairbhe agus a Mala Clia. Comhardín Refugee fáide mission tárthalla de snáthóirí agus do mhairthe. Déanann siad difriocht gach lá. Ní bhíonn aine ag sú leis go mé a gáil bothú. Go taban. Tá tuile Refugee fáide a lorug ag an Garda Costa an na scuinn for ní smú daoine a hábhail. Is féidir leat iarratas a chur isteach ar publicjobs.ie.
Keep your garden in shape all year round with top quality garden equipment from Garden Care at Gallina's Letterkenny Tool Hire. A great selection of leaf blowers, hedge cutters, chainsaws and much more for sale or hire. There's a full backup and repair service, including chains and bars for all makes of chainsaws. Gallina's Letterkenny Tool Hire at Mountain Top Letterkenny, your local Garden Care dealer. Garden Care, your pathway to a beautiful garden.
Okay, you're very welcome back to the programme. Delighted to welcome into studio Lisa Hone, who's chair of the Mica Action Group. Good morning to you and thanks so much for joining us, Lisa. How are you keeping?
I'm busy, Greg.
Yes, fair play to you for taking up this role because I think you would know, and I'm sure you were warned in inverted commas, that there's a lot to it and it's ongoing and it's intensive.
It is. But I just felt, I had been involved with MAG for the last 18 months, pretty much as soon as I found out that I had an issue with Mica myself, and got involved on a volunteer basis, and then just kind of as we went on and as it became more and more intense over the last 18 months or so, just got kind of more and more involved in everything that needed to be going on, because it really was all hands to the pumps at a very, very intensive year. Over a year really. And then obviously we had the AGM and there was existing members of the committee. They absolutely needed to step down, and I respected that because they had given everything to it.
There's a pressure there to keep going, because if the people that have become familiar faces and voices back down, they're thinking, well, could this change momentum or something? And you've been very, very busy in it, and you're taking a more high-profile role in this, I think, but you've been flat out heretofore. My hot take of where we're at the moment is that we have a scheme that is stalled at the moment. It's not really clear who will get on it, what will get done, but everyone's probably going to have to pay something. But we also have a sense, I feel, that the victims of this scandal have been abandoned or are abandoned, that, they're the lowest common denominator, that there's attention and focus all over the place. But if you're a victim of the concrete block crises, the scandal, that you don't really matter. I'm not saying that's how I feel, but that you would be forgiven for feeling like that, I think. Can you add anything to that, or is that a decent assessment of the situation?
I think that's a fair assessment of certainly how homeowners feel. I mean, I speak to homeowners every day, and what I would try and do as the voice of MAG would be to try and relate the reality, the truth of what is happening on the ground. It is actually galling when you hear some of the rhetoric and statements of ministers and interviews where they're almost dismissing it. Oh, you've got a scheme coming. What are you making this noise for? What's wrong with you? No, the scheme isn't here. Last year, you were talking about delivering this scheme by the end of this year, like as in now. It should be live now. And here we sit, and we don't even have a date for the scheme to be open. So it's vital that I think that we do keep the pressure on. Organisations like MAG are there, and obviously the campaign groups right across all the affected counties do keep that voice of the homeowners in high profile as we can, hold government ministers to account, and really shine a spotlight on the reality and truth of what homeowners are going through, as opposed to what government would maybe like the public to think.
Yeah, because there's definitely a battle for the minds of the public, and that was started with commentaries like Mansions, with commentaries like, we have to be careful how we spend the taxpayers' money. All of that is a strategy. Those aren't off the cuff remarks. That is a conversation to try and influence people to say, as you say, look, we gave them a scheme. It's 100%, and no matter what you say, they'll say it's 100%. And then the general population then move on to the next thing, and yet hundreds, thousands of people are left behind in this mess.
Yeah, I think that's right. And there definitely has been insidious tactics used against the homeowners, which, when you think about the situation they're in, is just about as low as it gets. You're up against the state machine. There's no doubt about that, with, all the resources that they can possibly employ. But that doesn't deter us. In fact, it actually fuels us on, because we see the injustice and we see the lies being told. And that actually spurs us on to get the truth out there and to keep on challenging what is being said to the public. And I think yesterday was a good example of that, where we had a platform where we could actually specifically highlight what is going on in reality, as opposed to maybe what's been said from government.
What do you think the key message from MAG and other speakers, and we're going to be joined by Deputy Pádraig McLaughlin shortly on this issue too, what do you think the key message that was gotten across that people needed to hear through the submissions yesterday?
I think the key message was that the government is sitting on this situation and is being morally vacant, in my opinion, about really tackling the root cause. And that's why I wanted to pull it back to why this levy is needed in the first place. It's not the homeowners' fault that the levy is needed. The homeowners are victims of what has gone on within the concrete industry. And it's really, really important for the general public to understand that it is the fault of those who violated regulations and those who are in a position to make sure that really good, strong governance is put into place and have a moral duty at this stage to do that, but are yet still holding everything at arm's length, dragging their heels, and real tangible action that should be taking place to make a real difference to assure anybody in future buying these type of products that they're good quality, they're fit for purpose, and you're not going to be faced with the devastation that obviously thousands of homeowners all across Ireland are today.
Yeah, stay with me. There's a set of headphones there if you want to put them on so you can hear Deputy McLaughlin, or I'll try here. Is there a set there, is there? Okay, make sure the volume's okay for you. Sorry, I should have done that first, Lisa. I'm an amateur, my apologies. Right, Deputy Pádraig McLaughlin, you've referred to this as what it is. It's a humanitarian crisis. You would have heard what the speakers said yesterday. Do you know, the language that's being used in the Dáil on this issue is so dramatic. It should be really the front page of Anyways. This is so dramatic as what we're talking about. But because it's, I don't know why, it's almost like the words don't mean anything to those that hear them. Obviously, the likes of you, when you speak, you know exactly what they mean. Do you understand where I'm coming from? In a democracy, in the seat of democracy, describing what's going on here in Donegal, it's unbelievable that we are still in the same position and that the calls from the likes of yourself and those directly affected are going unheard. Crazy.
It's infuriating. I mean, you have and Highland Radio have told the stories of our families again and again. Most recently, the Moss family, the Shevlin family. I can speak with authority about Sharon Moss. I was in her home. It's horrific. As I said, this is a house not fit for human habitation. And, you know, we have a scenario where over a year ago, county councillors asked for resources to build high quality modular housing, and that is absolutely going to be required at different locations across North Donegal, where you have these clusters, Inishowen, Letterkenny, Milford, Finn Valley. You're going to require this, and it will have to be done.
So, what can you explain to me? Because, and again, it's not. No one wants to, but people are being pitched against each other accidentally, right? That's not what I'm trying to do here. But we do know modular homes are being planned to be completed in the first quarter of next year in 6-7 sites around Ireland to meet our obligation to help people fleeing war-torn countries and for other reasons, okay? And yet, no one even wants to take on the conversation about providing what is emergency housing for these families in Donegal. What is the reason for that? Because it seems inexplainable to me.
Yeah, and we have to say it out loud. I mean, we have to say that we have a housing crisis in Donegal, the same as the rest of the country. But what makes it even worse in Donegal is a defective block. The homeowners are victims of this scandal, and 500 of them are stuck in stage one. They're stuck in the logjam. The Department of Housing will not sign off on their applications. They can't get access to funding. They can't abandon their house because they have a mortgage to pay. Even if they could, it's extremely hard to find alternative temporary accommodation in Donegal right now. And the government are willfully refusing to help. Like they have had strong correspondence from the Mica Action Group. They cannot deny they were. I've put parliamentary question after parliamentary question. Myself and other Donegal TDs have raised this issue. It'll be raised again today in the Dáil, telling the stories. And this is willful. And what we need to do is, and you've been exposing this yourself, Greg, is there are people offering houses in Donegal right now. I'm aware of them. You're aware of them, for Ukrainian refugees. They're being turned down, not embraced. We have people who are out there sourcing houses. I want to know what accountability is around all of that. But I mean, we need to have houses for our families in distress, whether it's high quality modular housing, whether it's the government intervening. The other thing I want to say, Greg, is this is you made this point very strongly. When the pyrite remediation scheme, which is still operating today, and has helped at least a couple of thousand families in Dublin and North Leinster to get their homes repaired, the housing agency were tasked with finding temporary alternative accommodation while their homes were being repaired. That's happening and has happened for about 2,000 families. Yet in Donegal, families are expected to fend for themselves, and it's just wrong. So it's very simple. You task the housing agency and Donegal County Council. The minister has to do this. Donegal County Councillors have appealed for it to happen again and again. I understand they're seeking a delegation to meet with the minister. So the minister has the power to do this. Just do it. And my fear is he's turning one set of people against another in Donegal. It doesn't need to happen. With the right attitude from government, we can do what we need to do.
But I think the housing minister needs, and you can't pin people down, he needs to explain, right, why people are allowed to be in this situation without helping in a humanitarian way. We are being humanitarian in our approach to lots of things. Why is it? Because we're so far from Dublin? What is your Lisa? What could possibly be the explanation that these desperate calls from families, for emergency accommodation, emergency help? We heard from the leading lung expert in Ireland that said that living in mouldy houses is damaging people's lungs. So people could be living with the fallout from this for the rest of their lives, or have their lives shortened as a result. Why do you think the government can ignore this?
It just seems to fundamentally come down to a lack of care, unfortunately. And there seems to be a lethal combination, I would say, of apathy and incompetence. And I think sometimes they look at what's happening and almost, it feels to me sometimes like it's just too big for them. It's just too big and it's just too complicated. And I think that the way that they've actually handled or not managed the schemes to date is another illustration of that. And I think, we see time and time again where even though they have full knowledge of these desperate situations, it's stick the fingers in the ears, put your hands over your eyes, head in the ground, and we'll just ignore it, and on we go.
Is it delayed and let Sinn Féin worry about it?
I mean, I don't think we can give up.
Oh no, is that what, do you think that's maybe?
Oh, in terms of, possibly. All I know is that having worked on the campaign now for 18 months, what I do see is a lot of lip service and fine words and very, very little action.
So what can happen next? We had a huge protest in Dublin. We have the attention of national journalists. There's some great work that's being done on that recently, okay? We have the opposition and people like Padraig McLaughlin screaming from the rafters in the Dáil and what have you. And all of that's not making a difference, or seems not to be making a difference. And I'm not in any way trying to dash hope or give in or nothing like that. Don't get me wrong. But if this isn't working, this is everything you could have dreamed of maybe 3 years ago, in terms of where would you want a campaign to be to get attention. If that's not working now, what really could either force or embarrass a government into doing something?
It's hard to have the answers, to be honest, Greg. And I think I can't promise I have the answers to that. But what I will say is that we will absolutely throw everything behind it.
No, I know that. Yeah.
And I think the acid test, to be honest, is get the scheme in place. The government at the moment is telling us it's a great scheme, it's going to deliver, it's going to get people out of this awful situation. Right, get it in place. Let's have it here working operationally on the ground, and then that's the acid test. Because at the moment, I feel that while it's not in place, it's almost they can hide behind the words because it's the promise of. The test is going to be putting it in place and actually allowing people to apply, and it will very, very become obvious whether it works
Suck it and see, really.
or not.
Yeah, okay.
Exactly, and I think that's what we have to press for. I mean, I feel that there is a sense, talking to people on the ground, I feel that there's a sense that people are waiting, that they want the scheme to arrive, and they want to try it and see if it will work. Now, obviously, we have expressed our reservations about it. I would love if it works. Ultimately, the end game with this is get people out of this desperate situation. So I think the onus on government right now is get the scheme in place and get it working effectively and efficiently and well managed, because it cannot be the shambolic a scheme that is currently
who
in
manages
place.
it then? Because listen, maybe it's individuals involved, and I want to be careful with not to dump on people already under pressure. But clearly, something has to be done in terms of how this is administered, who administers it, streamlined, simplified, progressive information, the basic kind of stuff that unfortunately it seems we haven't seen so far. Maybe I'll put that to Deputy McLaughlin first and come back to you. Oh, no, go ahead, Lisa. Go ahead.
What the campaign groups, so it's obviously MAG and also the campaign groups down the country. So we've got 4 counties, Mayo, Donegal, Limerick and Clare, who are due to be on the new scheme. And all of us are calling for a very, very different managed scheme. It has to be more centralised. Effectively, the last scheme was landed on the local council. Now, I have my own thoughts about the operations there, and I think a lot more could be done to actually manage it well. But effectively, a scheme was dumped onto the local council and they don't have the adequate resources to manage it. It can't be just farmed out to the local councils and then government go, grand, away you go, that's it, and then turn their backs on it. This is a responsibility of government, right up to the minister, to make sure that this scheme is put in place with all the infrastructure, so it's managed in a very slick and effective way, so we don't end up with the shambles that we've got now.
You're nodding your head to everything that Lisa's saying there. I mean, your comments on this, but also who is administering the Pyrite scheme?
The housing agency.
So it's not a local council, a local authority. It's directly from the housing agency. So why would this? I wonder why that wasn't also applied then to this scheme, which is bigger in scale.
Because the scheme they set up, the discredited so-called 90-10 scheme, was a grant scheme, and therefore it was administered by Donegal County Council, Mayo County Council. They weren't resourced adequately. Of course, a big help for the government, and that's the angry homeowners, the desperate homeowners are dealing with people in Donegal, not interfacing with them, but it's them that's creating the logjam. It's them that won't sign off on 500 properties. So what we need is, now this new scheme, we're told that the housing agency are involved in the new scheme along with Donegal County Council. So you need the necessary staff. You need to help people navigate this process. I mean, I totally agree with what Lisa said. Thanks to the fantastic efforts of the people of Donegal, the campaign that is ongoing, we made substantial progress to move from what the discredited crap 90-10 scheme to this scheme. But this scheme still isn't right, and we'll bring in amended legislation and try and make it better again later this year and into early next year. So we need to get this scheme up and running. We need a necessary staff on the ground. But right now as we speak, the urgency is to help. There's not a massive number of them, but there's families right now in houses that are not fit for human habitation. They're dangerous houses.
It's 10 or 15 that have been identified as actual emergency cases.
Absolutely.
Isn't that correct? Yeah.
That's an emergency. Absolutely. So that's the immediate urgency. That's the emergency. So that's plan A. The next issue then is getting this scheme up and running as soon as possible into next year, making sure that it's fit for purpose. It's based on the right science, based on testing for mica, pyrrhotite, and pyrite. That means that, it's a bit like when you go to Letterkenny Hospital, you hope when they're doing the scans and the tests, it's the right scans and tests to give you the right solution and the right cure. So I want to say that finally, I thought Lisa Holmes, but very, very briefly, I thought Lisa Holmes was fantastic yesterday. I think we're blessed to have people like Lisa, Michael, Paddy Diver, all these campaigners in Donegal, and if it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be where we are now. At least we have hope of a bright future for our families.
Yeah, it's amazing. I agree with you that these regular people have had to step up and try and do some. Well, if it wasn't for us, we wouldn't be where we're at now, even though people are frustrated. It really is remarkable. Last word, Lisa. We'll be speaking a lot into there's a couple of big things coming up, so I'm sure me and you will be speaking.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
and I think that's right. That is the last word. There's some really, really important stuff coming up, and that is why we do need a strong campaign still in place. We have the regulations to come through. We have the rates that need to be looked at. We've got the SEAI grants. We've got the big science conference. That is fundamental. Great work being done there. Absolutely. No, there's really, really big landmark things coming through in the next while, and we need to keep the heat on government, keep their feet to the flames, make them accountable for their own behaviour, and let's get this scheme in place, and then the acid test. We'll see.
Right, okay. There's so much we could talk about, and yet we didn't have time, but we'll have opportunities as these events come up. Thanks, Lisa.
All right.
Fair
Thanks,
play
Greg.
to you, by the way, for taking this role. Lisa Hone, Chair of the Mica Action Group.
Live free in 2023 with Dunloe GAA Club. €500 cash weekly, a holiday to Dubai, All-Ireland final tickets and more. Winner takes all. Live free in 23.ie. Proud sponsors of today's show.
Total ban on sprays proposed. For more in this week's Farmers Journal, here's Paul Mooney.
Crop and rush sprays in the firing line under EU plans. Future land designations not ruled out by Minister. Farmer fallout from Food Vision Dairy Group report, which recommends a dairy cow exit scheme. Turkish buyers driving the weaning trade, and farmers have 2 months to dezone from land tax.
Plus, find out how you can reduce your feed costs this winter. Only inside this week's Irish Farmers Journal. You cannot afford to miss it.
Massive stock clearance promotion now on at Haggerty's Home Interiors, Buncrana. See the best selection of sofas, beds and sliding robes, all at unbeatable prices with free delivery included. Our best sale items include 4'6" bed set, mattress, base and headboard was €499, now €379 for the lot. Get an extra €100 off any recliner suite, electric or manual. See the best selection and the best priced sliding robes in Ireland, with lots more offers throughout the store. Haggerty's Home Interiors, Buncrana. Great furniture, always better prices.
This weekend, bank yourself a big deal at Screwfix, like a 20% saving on the DeWalt T-Stack Organizer, now only $19.95. And cut over €10 off to Erbauer's 650-watt mini saw, now just $69.95. Hurry, deals end Monday. Order at screwfix.ie for click and collect or shop in over 28 stores. Screwfix, the choice of champions. While stocks last, prices valid until at least 4 p.m. on 31st of October. Visit screwfix.ie for T's and C's, delivery charges and restrictions.
Check out these special offers at Simpsons Supermarket Letterkenny. Fire logs, 10-pack, €12. Bold 100 wash, €10. Fairy liquid, 1 litre, €2. Fairy dishwasher tabs, 78-pack, €9. For Halloween, we have all your needs, from pumpkins, face paints and loads of sweets for all the trick-or-treaters. While there, check out Peggy's Kitchen Cafe for great food, teas and coffees. Only 2 minutes from Letterkenny Hospital. Simpsons Supermarket. Great value every day.
Love swimming? Love it with a level head. Learn about weather, tides and rip currents. Be visible with a brightly coloured hat and tow float. Swim parallel to shore and never alone. Afterwards, get warm quickly. This is Water Safety Ireland. Better safe than sorry. For open water swimming advice, visit watersafety.ie. Supported by the Government of Ireland.
Don't know why she's leaving.
Joe Gallagher Entertainment presents Chris Norman, the original voice of Smokey, returns to Donegal on the 30th of October to the Mount Erigal Hotel, Letterkenny. Tickets on sale from the Mount Erigal Hotel reception, Joe Gallagher Entertainment office and Ticketmaster.ie.
Attention all car owners, mechanics and garages. Teamet Limited, Northern Ireland's leading new and